The undead spirit has failed. The undead spirit that has always tried everything has failed. This was the first time I met Lin Mohan, and I was inevitably shocked. After thinking about it for a moment, you will probably know why. Is it because we are in the boundary sea? The spells in the big world cannot be used outside the big world. Whether a spell is powerful or not, it actually needs the support of the source and the power of laws. Without the source, it is useless. In the Sea of World, there is no origin and law of the great world, so my undead spirit has lost its effect. 17. However, the immortal golden body once obtained the power of the original fire, so it still has extremely strong abilities outside the big world. Although the bone hell has not obtained the original power, it has the power of reality and virtuality and can also play a certain role. Other than that, other spells have been weakened to a certain extent and have poor effects. 010 is in the boundary sea, and the undead souls are indeed useless, but fortunately, the spell can still be used, and the number of skeleton generals is still there. Facing the strange fish, it is not a problem to use it as a human shield to block it for a while. The strength of the strange fish was unknown, and Lin Mohan didn't want to get entangled with it in the boundary sea. He summoned a large number of skeleton gods to block behind him, and he quickly approached the big world. The strange fish continuously shoots water lines, killing a large number of skeleton generals. There are too many skeleton god generals to kill them all. Seeing Lin Mohan getting closer and closer to the big world, the strange fish was obviously anxious. It opened its huge mouth, and the origin crystal hanging in front of it bloomed with glow. Boom! The terrifying soul attack fell directly on Lin Mohan. The soul world shook violently, and the entire soul world was distorted and deformed, as if it would be broken at any time. The world tree stretches out countless vine branches to stabilize the soul world, and the colorful dragon soul crystals also spit out powerful dragon breath, maintaining the soul world together with the world tree. The stars in the soul world are swaying, and nearly 10,000 stars are shining simultaneously. The three work together to stabilize the soul world. So strong. Lin Mohan was shocked again. He still underestimated the strange fish. With this soul attack alone, the strength of the strange fish will not be much worse than that of the Supreme. If you were in the big world, you could still fight it, but in the boundary sea, you'd better save your time and don't waste time. Lin Mohan felt that his choice was right, not to fight the strange fish in the boundary sea. There are more and more skeleton gods behind him, and they are densely packed, filling a large area of the sea, firmly blocking him and the strange fish. Lin Mohan is getting closer and closer to the big world. Gradually, he feels the origin of the big world. The light of the big world shines on him, giving Lin Mohan a feeling of returning to his mother's body. The undead spirit suddenly becomes usable again at this moment. The previously dead skeleton god general cannot be resurrected, but the now dead skeleton god general can be resurrected to fight again. Lin Mohan knew that his judgment was correct. Whether the undead souls were useful or not depended on the history of the origin. It is the original power of the great world that gives the undead the magical effect. However, due to the changes in the undead, Lin Mohan also thought of another problem. I wonder if his talent will still be useful after leaving the big world. Especially the freshmen's talents are still their biggest trump card to save their lives. If the new talent's talent is no longer useful, then when faced with danger in the future, one must be more careful. Lin Mohan was extremely vigilant. The boundary sea is indeed very dangerous. He was getting closer and closer to the big world. When the distance was only 2,000 meters, the strange fish suddenly stopped chasing. The origin crystal in front of its head shines like a lantern, complementing the glow of the big world. The strange fish stared at Lin Mohan with cold eyes and no emotion at all. No more chasing? Is it because of the original power of the big world? Lin Mohan discovered that the location where the strange fish was parked was just outside the scope of the original power of the big world. Both sides have the power of origin. Obviously, the power of the big world is stronger. The strange fish is not willing to get close to the big world, so it stops. Lin Mohan glanced at it and then continued to approach the big world. Seeing Lin Mohan getting closer and closer to the big world, the strange fish knew that it was impossible to eat him again, so he turned away and disappeared quickly. Lin Mohan passed by the big world and left the boundary sea close to the big world. After staying in the boundary sea for this period of time, his body's defense had almost reached its limit and he could no longer withstand the impact of the power of the boundary sea. He rushed out of the boundary sea and stood above the big world before gradually relaxing. Until this moment, he still had lingering fears. If the acuity of his soul was not that good and there was no warning of danger, he might really die. Now that he has the protection of the big world, he feels at ease. Although there are opportunities in the boundary sea, there are also dangers. With my current ability, I am still unable to move freely in the boundary sea. If I am not careful, I will die. Although I failed to obtain the origin crystal during this trip to the boundary sea, it allowed me to see another side of the big world and complete the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle of the rules world. Lin Mohan secretly thought in his heart that the trip to the boundary sea actually gained a lot. The origin crystal was just an accident. He was not disappointed if he failed to get it. If I gain something, I will lose my life. Some things can be fought for, but they cannot be forced. Calculating the time, it has been more than 10 minutes since he arrived at Jiahai, which has already exceeded the previous time. Time flows 10,000 times faster in the boundary sea. In these 10 minutes, a lot of time has passed in this world. Lin Mohan felt that after a while, he should go back. He observed the world of Jiahai again, hoping to discover something from it. Suddenly Lin Mohan's heart tightened. It's a small world. He suddenly sensed the small world. Following the connection between the two parties, he saw a tiny light group in the waves 10,000 meters away from the big world. The light group is extremely tiny, its volume is even less than 3/10,000ths of the big world. But the light group is very complete and is a real world. The small world has really come to the boundary sea. The sudden appearance of the small world verified Lin Mohan's previous guess that the world had really come to the boundary sea. Although the small world is small, it is very complete. It rolled in the waves of the boundary sea and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The connection between Lin Mohan and it was thus interrupted. The flow rate of time in the boundary sea is 1.6 times. In just a few seconds in the boundary sea, tens of thousands of seconds have actually passed in the big world. This also just verifies what Lin Mohan saw in the big world before. The half day when the small world disappears is actually just a few seconds in the boundary sea. It keeps alternating between the boundary sea and the big world. The time it exists in the boundary sea is getting longer and longer, and the time in the big world is getting shorter and shorter. It is gradually breaking away from the big world until it completely enters the boundary sea and has no relationship with the big world. Seeing that the small world he was born in was about to leave, Lin Mohan had mixed feelings and couldn't explain what kind of emotions he was feeling. Antalis, you are dishonest. It was said that it would take hundreds of years to come out, but now. Lin Mohan said viciously word by word, if you have the guts, never come out, or see how I beat you. Lin Mohan's trip to Jiahai lasted a total of 20 minutes. Exactly double the last time. 20 minutes in the boundary sea is equal to 200,000 minutes in the big world, which is nearly 140 days. These 140 days have been a great harvest for Lin Mohan. Not only did he see the dangers in the boundary sea, but he also completed the last piece of the puzzle of his own world of rules. Finally, he saw the small world where he was born and confirmed that the small world was indeed breaking away from the big world. This great power that can separate the small world from the big world has completely exceeded his imagination. This power far exceeds that of Tianzuan and may have reached the level of Dao Zun. He was certain that Tianzuan did not have this ability. The star refining process is still going on, and only the last bit of the 10,000 stars is missing. After that Supreme Master created the star refining technique, a war broke out in ancient times, and he was seriously injured in the war. Even he himself has never produced 10,000 stars, and no one knows what the effect of 10,000 stars is. Lin Mohan had some expectations in his heart, and at the same time, he simulated what he had gained in the Boundary Sea again, and finally perfected the shape of the rule world. More than 10 days later, thousands of stars finally took shape. The starlight swayed and bloomed with brilliant rays of light, covering the entire soul world. 31. The huge soul world became bright, the rays of light intertwined, reflecting colorful colors, and the entire soul world became extremely gorgeous. The starlight carries powerful power, making the entire soul world stronger. Advertisement. Quantitative changes lead to qualitative changes, and the power of thousands of stars intertwined together makes the intensity of the entire soul world rise in a straight line. Lin Mohan's heart moved. It's begun. Following the changes in the starlight refining method, Lin Mohan officially began to build his own world of rules. The world tree cheered as it grew crazily, sending out huge soul power and pouring into the soul world, providing sufficient energy for changes in the entire world. Over the years, World Tree did not know how much soul power it had accumulated, as if it was just waiting for this moment. Following Lin Mohan's thoughts, the world of rules that already took shape was changing crazily at this moment. The previous prototype was torn down and everything started again. The huge soul power has built a new world of rules. The world of rules still uses the big world as a template, but Lin Mohan has made changes to it. The world of rules is divided into two layers, inner and outer, just like the big world has inner and outer domains. The outer layer is larger than the inner layer, but has fewer resources. Lin Mohan divided 3,000 of the 10,000 stars into groups of 10 stars to form galaxies, totaling 300 galaxies, evenly distributed in the Waikong area. The remaining 7,000 stars, grouped into groups of 100 stars, form a huge galaxy, distributed in the inner region. Your own soul and the world tree are located in the core area. The branches and leaves of the world tree penetrate the space and spread. Although they appear invisible, they are actually spread throughout the entire world of rules. It can be said that the entire rules world is under the shroud of the world tree. This is what Lin Mohan thought about from the beginning. The world tree will be the core of the entire rules world. The general area has been divided, and the outline of the regular world has been formed. Then came the details. Magic stars flew down one after another. There were stars, white stars, and neutron stars. They exist independently and become the most powerful stars in the world of rules. No matter the outer layer or the inner layer, thousands of stars will provide them with energy. The magic star is the core of Lin Mohan, and it is also the most important existence. Like the world tree, it is replaceable. The infinite fusion that had not moved for a long time made movement again. It flew around the entire rule world, and mist was scattered wherever it went. The mist is very light and almost invisible. However, Lin Mohan could feel that wherever the chi went, all the stars changed. Their starlight seems to have a commander, and all starlight is controlled by infinite fusion. Infinite fusion brings together a large amount of starlight, and finally divides it equally among the magic stars. It was as if the emperor was rewarding his men. That gesture was outrageous. Lin Mohan ignored it, knowing that it would not mess around, and continued to do his own thing. He placed the magic stars in a suitable area. They looked a little scattered, but in fact they were in order. They were all arranged around his soul body and the world tree. From this, it is formed that the soul body and the world tree are the center, the magic stars are on the second level, the third level is 7,000 stars, and the outermost layer is the main 1,000 stars. The entire structure is like a big network. The closer you get to the center, the tighter and stronger it becomes. And with the help of the world tree that runs through the entire world of rules, the power of the center can also be supplied to the outside world at any time. It seems loose, but in fact it is extremely strict. Lin Mohan imitates the big world. The big world has a rune as its core, while he has the world tree as its core. Of course, today's world tree is far from being comparable to the big world runes, but Lin Mohan believes that his rule world can continue to grow, and maybe one day it will be able to compare with the big world. The powerful power of rules was born in the world of rules, quickly filling every corner. At this point, the world of rules has revealed an aura of perfection, with almost no shortcomings to be found. This kind of rules world was also called the perfect level in ancient times. Relying on the tens of thousands of stars from the starlight refining method, Lin Mohan has built a perfect world of rules without even using the world crystal. Lin Mohan is not satisfied with achieving his goal ahead of schedule. He wants to break the inherent concepts and make the world of rules transcend perfection. Lin Mohan murmured to himself, with a real side, the world of rules should also have a virtual side. Only when virtuality and reality are combined can a world of rules be considered a real world. As soon as his heart moved, the Hell of Bones naturally emerged. This is the first time Lin Mohan has released the Bone Hell into the soul world. The Bone Hell itself already possesses the characteristics of reality and reality, combining the power of reality and reality. Following Lin Mohan's idea, the skeleton hell merged with the entire rule world, becoming the virtual 10 faces in the rule world. This is just an expedient measure and is far from a true combination of reality and reality. Lin Mohan has not yet mastered the power of the void, and now he is just following the same pattern. The newly formed world of rules began to roar, and the Hell of Bones continued to sink, sinking to the bottom of the world of rules. Just like the boundary sea, it holds up the world of rules from the bottom. He had thought before that the world of rules needed to combine reality with reality, but he just didn't know how to do it. How to integrate the power of virtuality into your own world of rules. After entering the boundary sea, he suddenly understood that it was not as complicated as he thought. Jiehai gave the most suitable answer. The skeleton hell unfolds at the bottom of the rule world and is integrated with the rule world. Achievements are the virtual calendar side of the rule world. The river of hellfire flows out from the Hell of Bones and flows into the regular world. The river of fire is like a boundary sea, rising continuously until it occupies 1/3 of the entire regular world. All the stars engulfed by the river of fire are contaminated with the power of virtuality and have duality of reality and reality. The world of rules has a small amount of virtual and real power, and it continues to roar, becoming stronger, and there seems to be signs of a breakthrough. It keeps roaring, but it can't break through for a long time. It still lacks something, it lacks the original power. The big world is no longer able to provide Lin Mohan with enough original power. Fortunately, Lin Mohan has been prepared for it. With a thought in his heart, the world tree cheered, and the crystals of the fast world flew down to Lin Mohan at the same time. The world burning fire pulsed, and the 10 world crystals quickly melted in the world burning fire, releasing a powerful source of power. The world of rules was nourished by the power of the source, and shook more violently. The powerful original aura shook violently in the world of rules, sweeping across the entire world of rules like a violent storm. All the stars are contaminated with the power of the source and become more powerful. The starlight also became stronger, and the origin of time spread to every corner. Almost every beam of starlight contains traces of original power. The world of rules has sufficient original power and is shaking nonstop. The world of rules is full of vitality. The world tree originally existed. Lin Mohan's world of rules is never cold. But now, the vitality is getting stronger and stronger. Under the nourishment of the original power, all the stars are full of vitality, and flowers and plants are beginning to be born. The emergence of vitality in the world of rules is the patent of the world of rules in the Supreme Realm, and the Saint cannot reach it. The reason is that the Supreme Rule World incorporates the power of the Source, and only the power of the Source can evolve the ecology. The origin is the source of everything and the source of life. Lin Mohan used 10 world crystals to temporarily replace the origin of the big world. When you really become the Supreme in the future, you can use the origin of the big world to integrate into the world of rules for the second time. In the Saint Realm, he has accomplished what can only be done in the Supreme Realm. Lin Moyu's rule world has surpassed the level of perfection. I don't know how to describe it. Nourished by the power of the source, the world of rules continues to grow stronger and stronger. Lin Moyu started drawing the array with slight fingers. He drew very quickly and drew a large number of ancient symbols, one after another, non-stop. The ancient talisman flew out from his fingertips, flew to the predetermined position, and exploded. Ancient symbols are integrated into the world of rules. These ancient symbols can make the world of rules stronger and more solid. Lin Moyu did not draw on the power of the big world when drawing the ancient talisman, but completely used his own original power to complete it. Even if he reaches the boundary sea in the future, the ancient talisman he drew will still be usable. Ancient symbols strengthen the world of rules and make the world of rules more harmonious. Under the action of the ancient talisman, the power of virtuality and reality are almost perfectly integrated. From then on, Lin Moyu's rule world combines virtuality and reality, just like a real world. The world of rules continues to evolve and increase in intensity with Lin Moyu's ancient talismans. The construction of the rules world is not a day's work. After it is generally completed, there are still many details that need to be added. There are still many things Lin Moyu has to do next. Just the ancient talisman would require thousands of them, so he had his hands full. The realm has already reached the Holy Realm as early as when the world of rules was formed. The aura of the Holy Lord rushed out of the training room and was blocked by the human emperor. Judging from the aura, Lin Moyu, the Holy Lord, is extraordinary. Although the emperor cannot see clearly, he can feel Lin Moyu's extraordinariness. He passed the news to Xing Lao, who quickly came to the human emperor and felt Lin Moyu's breath together. Xing Lao said in a deep voice, "His rules world is very strong, stronger than you and me." The human emperor said, "I suspect that his world of rules is perfect." Xing Lao sighed, "In the world of perfect rules, even in ancient times, they were rare. In our era, I am afraid he is the only one." The human emperor had a different opinion, not only that, but also Lin Mohan. Lin Mohan's rules world should also be perfect. Xing Lao did not deny what the human emperor said. Lin Mohan's world of rules was indeed very strong. In particular, Lin Mohan can hold his own world of rules in his hands and use it as a magic weapon. Even with their knowledge, it is difficult to imagine. At the edge of the big world, separated by the world barrier, is the boundary sea. Lin Mohan has been here for a long time. She wants to break through the barriers and break out of the big world again and again. But the world barrier is too strong, even she can't break out. If you want to leave the big world, you must either use treasures such as Jihai shells, or use extreme power to break the world barriers and rush out by force. In ancient times, only some extremely powerful supreme beings could break the barriers of the world and enter the boundary sea. Lin Mohan's current state is half-step to the supreme. Relying on the world-destroying sword, she can perform attacks comparable to those of the supreme. But if we want to break the barriers in the world, we are still a little short of it. Lin Mohan tried again and never considered giving up. If one sword doesn't work, then use 2 swords, 3 swords, 100 swords, or 10,000 swords. If one day doesn't work, then 10 days, 100 days, a year, 10 years. Lin Mohan drew his sword while practicing and comprehending. In the past few years, her realm has not changed, but her combat power has steadily improved. At this moment, she drew her sword again, and the sword light cut through the starry sky and struck the world barrier. The strike made the world barrier roar, as if the whole world was trembling. The world barrier was still not broken, or even cracked, as Lin Mohan dispersed the world-destroying sword. The heaven and earth sword flew out from behind Lin Mohan and stopped in front of Lin Mohan. A villain appeared on the sword. The heaven and earth sword spirit whispered, "The power of the sword just now has been increased by at least 30% compared to 2 years ago. According to the strength of the world barrier, as long as it can be increased by another 30%, it can be broken." As the heaven and earth sword spirit, it has faced the barriers of the world more than once. Its old master used it to break through the barriers of the world time and time again and leave the world of heaven. It's clear about the strength of the world's barriers. Lin Mohan nodded. I know that if I work hard, I can indeed break through the world's barriers. But what's next? The Boundary Sea is not a kind place. With my strength, there will be dangers there. So I have to easily break through the barriers of the world without trying my best to be qualified to enter the Boundary Sea and find my opportunity. The Heaven and Earth Sword Spirit frowned. Then what should we do? Lin Mohan smiled slightly. Don't be in a hurry, maybe just wait a little longer. The Heaven and Earth Sword Spirits were puzzled. What are you waiting for? Lin Mohan smiled and said, wait for Xiaoyu, wait for him to be promoted to saint. Count the time, it should be soon. Suddenly, there was a roar deep in the bloodline, and an inexplicable power grew out of the body. Lin Mohan's eyes shone brightly. Here we come. She sat down in the void and her breath began to rise. Bloodline resonance. Lin Moyu was promoted to saint, triggering bloodline resonance, and followed Lin Mohan's realm. The divine path has been cut off. It is impossible to step on the divine path. It is difficult to gain recognition from the big world, to obtain the origin, and to become the supreme. No matter who it is, it's the same. It is indeed difficult for Lin Mohan to become the supreme, so he has to leave the big world to find his own way. But if her realm does not improve, it does not mean that her combat power cannot be improved. The world-destroying sword emerged from behind her. The world-destroying sword became sharper, and the aura it exuded was like a tsunami, causing endless ripples in the void. The trace of original power in the Rule God Stone increases the power area of the world-destroying sword. Relying on bloodline resonance, Lin Mohan took another half-step on the road to half-step supreme, touching the true limit of half-step supreme. Although it is still not as high as the supreme, its combat power has increased again. A few days later, Lin Mohan came into his hands with the sword that destroyed the world, Nwoku's, since he was practicing. Heaven and Earth Sword. With a soft drink, the Heaven and Earth Sword roared softly and merged with the world-destroying sword. With the sword of Heaven and Earth, the sword of the world becomes stronger. Lin Mohan's aura became more powerful, exploding in the starry sky, and countless electric snakes exploded. One sword divides the sea. Lin Mohan gave a sweet shout and slashed out the world barrier sword. Unless she goes to extreme lengths, this sword is already her strongest sword in her normal state. This sword is much stronger than a few days ago. A tiny step in the realm, delivered to the final combat power, is a huge increase. This is the terrifying thing about Lin Mohan, and it is also the reason why she can fight across the border. The sword light hit the world barrier, and the world barrier roared again. This time it not only shook, but also had spider web-like cracks on it. In the sword light, the sword spirits of heaven and earth roared! Another sword light blasted out, landing in the center of the spider web for the second time. The spider web was finally broken, and a gap that was not too big appeared. Lin Mohan turned into a stream of light, rushed into the gap, and disappeared without a trace. Lin Moyu seemed to feel Lin Mohan's departure and said softly, "Sister, I wish everything goes well." He kept working hard and continued to build a world of rules. Using 10 world crystals as the source of power, ancient symbols are drawn to reinforce the entire world of rules. Ancient symbols are hidden in the void and integrated into the world of rules. At this moment, Lin Moyu felt as if he had become a rune-like existence in the big world, fully exploring his own world of rules. Every bit in the world of rules will follow your own will. 10 years later, the silent words finally stopped. In the past 10 years, he has been drawing ancient symbols nonstop, and he does not know how many ancient symbols he has drawn, arming the entire world of rules to the teeth. Lin Moyu can be sure that his world of rules has far surpassed the Saint Realm. Even the rules world of the Supreme Realm may not be as strong as his own. It's not like he has never seen the world of rules in the Supreme Realm. He has a reference for comparison. In the world of your own rules, the stars are flowing and full of vitality. There is life on every star, and it seems that all living things can evolve. Of course, this feeling is just false and does not reach the level of truly evolving living beings. However, if Lin Mohan catches some creatures and puts them in it, they can survive for a long time. Lin Mohan looked around at his world of rules. His world of rules was like a small world, with both reality and yin and yang. Powerful power dances in the world of rules, and Silent Language 73 clearly feels the power of its own world of rules. If you use it to hit people, it can surpass all Holy Realm magic weapons. The world of rules has just taken shape, and there is still a lot of room for growth. This should be different from the ordinary rules world. Lin Mohan seemed to have some enlightenment and understood the differences between the rule worlds at various levels. The world of jump-level rules is already dead, with little room for growth. Ordinary level ones can still grow a little, but the growth rate is limited, and at most they can become supreme. Those at the perfect level have a lot of room for growth and can support Tianzuan or even Dao Zun. Lin Mohan feels that his world of rules seems to have no upper limit. It has just been born, and the future is difficult to estimate. Beyond the perfection level, limiting the possibility of infinite growth. Lin Mohan said with a smile, there is still one last step left. Now there is only one final step left before the world of rules is fully formed. Lin Mohan's heart moved, and the 4 laws of the galaxy emerged at the same time. The last step is for the Time Law Galaxy to integrate into the world of rules. At the realm of the Holy Lord, the Law Galaxy no longer summons when needed, but allows the Law Galaxy to be integrated into the world of rules, allowing it to always exist. In this way, any single strike will have infinite power. However, it is not easy to integrate into the Law Galaxy, and many saints need to spend a lot of time. Lin Mohan had been prepared for this. As the galaxy of laws emerged, the ancient talismans he had drawn before also emerged. The ancient talismans form a formation and carry the Law Galaxy. They naturally guide the power of the Law Galaxy and easily integrate into the world of rules. But a new problem emerged again. The 4 laws of the galaxy have different powers. They can all integrate into the world of rules, but they seem to work independently. The skeleton hell can carry the laws of immortality, but it cannot carry the laws of time and space at the same time. The same goes for other spells, which can only carry one law at the same time. In this way, although there are 4 law galaxies, the effect of Guoli is almost the same as having only one. Lin Mohan was already prepared for this. He looked at the Infinite Fusion spell stars and said, "It's your turn." Magic, Infinite Fusion. The stars of the Infinite Fusion technique flew past in a swish, scattering countless Grey Garden auras. The gray mist contains the laws of chaos, wrapping the power of the 4 laws and making them merge with each other. Infinite Fusion is very magical, and it is the most magical existence among all the magic stars of Lin Mohan. Lin Mohan once used Infinite Fusion to fuse his own magic. Later, when Infinite Fusion became self-aware, Lin Mohan stopped caring about it. If anything happened, Infinite Fusion would act spontaneously. But this does not mean that he cannot use Infinite Fusion. Now, Lin Mohan takes the initiative to use Infinite Fusion, and all 4 of his laws merge into 3. Under the influence of the law of chaos, the 4 laws began to merge with each other, and the first to merge were the laws of time and space. The power of time and space has been successfully integrated long ago, and their integration is very smooth. Then the law of immortality joined in. The law of immortality contains 2 powers, which began to merge into it under the influence of Infinite Fusion. Lin Mohan can feel that the effect of the power of time and space has increased and become stronger after being integrated into the law of immortality. The newly fused power has the characteristics of life and death, and the power of life and death breaks the limitations of time and space. DBFD. But when the Starlight Law was also incorporated, the calendar began to shrink sharply. Lin Mohan realized something was wrong and immediately left Starlight Law. This is the case with Infinite Fusion. The more fusions, the better. Only the most suitable ones are the best. Lin Mohan tried several times and found that the best combination is the law of immortality, the law of time, and the law of space. The level of the starlight law is too low. It has become a drag and is not suitable for fusion. However, the starlight law can be used to perform starlight refining to condense more stars and enhance the world of rules. Lin Mohan decided to let the starlight law exist independently and use ancient talismans to activate it, just like he was practicing the starlight refining method. The starlight law absorbs starlight, gathers power, and continuously produces new stars. The other three laws have been integrated into one, sublimated into the power of rules, and sent to every magic star. If successful, each of his spells will have the characteristics of the three laws. For example, the skeleton god general's attacks will have the law of immortality. The power of death can corrode the enemy, and the power of life can repair itself. At the same time, it also has the power of time and space, and can travel through time and space, teleport, and ignore most attacks. Coupled with the bone law possessed by the skeleton god general, the combat power will be greatly improved. The bone hell will also have the characteristics of time and space. If it encounters the original crystal of the black blood world again, even if it is hidden in different time and space, the bone hell will be able to swallow it up. The bone hell can launch attacks from different time and space, and no matter how you dodge, it will be useless. Of course, all this is predicated on successful integration. The fused power of rules tried to enter the magic star, but the magic star shimmered and refused directly. Shufashinchen did not accept it and simply refused. And it kept beating and buzzing, as if telling Lin Mohan, it can't be done. Lin Mohan tried several times, but all ended in failure. After thinking for a moment, I figured out what the problem was. The magic stars are too weak and cannot carry so many laws at the same time. Lin Mohan believed that his idea was correct, the only difference was in the strength of the spell stars. In this case, let's talk about it later. I gave up the idea of letting magic carry multiple rules, looked at the four laws of the galaxy flowing happily in the world of rules, let out a long breath, and finally got it. After calculating the time, it took less than 15 years in total, which was ridiculously fast. Other people's rule worlds are built bit by bit, and it may take hundreds of years. However, Lin Mohan completed the construction at one time, and 5 years was actually very short. The world of rules built in 15 years is full of power and is stronger than what others have built in hundreds of years. Mainly because he was too well prepared, the world tree had accumulated enough power over the years, and with the addition of 10 world crystals, he was able to build a complete world of rules in one step. After constructing the world of rules, Lin Mohan did not leave the practice room, but took out the ancient Weizhuang. Let me see what's inside. 5 ancient boxes, 2 from the Holy Talisman Tianzuan, 2 from the Mysterious Owner, and 1 from the Starry Sky Fishman clan. The mysterious master once told him to wait until he reaches the Holy Venerable Realm before opening the door. Holy Talisman Tianzuan did not mention the realm requirements, but Lin Mohan felt that the several boxes were almost the same, so he simply opened them together at the holy level. Now that he is a saint, he can find out. The runes on the ancient box are circulating. These runes are very ancient and are truly ancient runes. These ancient symbols evolved from three-dimensional to flat, and were eventually imprinted on the box, allowing the box to survive the passage of time without damage. However, the material of the box itself is also very high grade, otherwise it would not be able to withstand the ancient talisman. This kind of box was very precious in ancient times, and was generally only used to store rare items. Ordinary items were not eligible to be placed in it. With Lin Mohan's current level and understanding of runes, the ancient runes on the ancient box are no longer a problem for him. Picking up a box and looking carefully up and down, Lin Mohan found his way to it. Soul power flowed, and Jijian drew an ancient formation. This ancient talisman is not complicated and corresponds exactly to the ancient talisman on the ancient box. After the ancient talisman was drawn, it also turned into a flat surface and flew to the box. The ancient talisman drawn by Lin Mohan merged with the ancient talisman on the box, and the box suddenly bloomed with radiance. With a click, the box opened, and a sharp sword light rushed out of the box. The world of rules emerged, and Lin Mohan summoned his own world of rules, covering the training room and completely blocking the sword light. The light of the sword struck the world of rules, causing the world of rules to tremble. Lin Mohan was shocked. Sure enough, not just anything can be put in it. This sword light is so powerful that it can almost surpass the full strength of the Holy Lord's strike. If it were the weak saint, even his world of rules might not be able to block the light of the sword. The power of the sword light contained the power of space. The space around Lin Mohan was all blocked at this moment, and the laws of space seemed to be at a standstill. Lin Mohan's eyes were complicated, and he had already guessed what was in the box. The first box that was opened came from the Starry Sky Fishmen. There was a sword in the box, only the size of a palm, which was a soul magic weapon. The sword body is crystal clear, and you can feel the strong laws of space. The soul communicates with the small sword. The small sword instantly becomes virtual and then appears in the soul world. Murloc's sword, it can kill all fishmen, regardless of their level of strength. New monsters are a must. Lin Mohan looked at the information brought by the fishman's sword and found that it was exactly what he had guessed. This sword was used to control the fishmen in the starry sky. In addition to the fishman's sword, there is also a jade tablet in the box. Lin Mohan took the jade tablet in his hand and read the content recorded in it. My name is Space Heavenly Lord. I take the essence of the flying fish from the boundary sea and blend it with the blood of the human race to create the starry skyfish race. The war is about to begin. The clan I created is still weak and is not suitable for going to the battlefield. Life or death in this battle is unpredictable, and I can't guarantee that I will be able to escape unscathed, so I keep this thing for the sake of control. Lin Mohan knew the origin of the Starry Skyfish people. The Starry Skyfish people were created by the space god using the essence of flying fish and the blood of humans in the sea. It was just that it was too late when he created the Starry Skyfishmen. The war had already broken out. The Starry Skyfishmen were still too weak at the time, so they did not participate in the war. The space god was afraid that he would not survive the war, so he left the fishmen behind to control the Starry Skyfishmen. The ancient box can only be opened with runes, and runes can only be mastered by the human race, so the space god is not afraid that the ancient box will fall into the hands of foreigners. But he didn't expect that this box would end up in the hands of the Starry Skyfishmen tribe. What's ridiculous is that the Starry Skyfishmen didn't even know it, and ended up handing it over to themselves by some strange combination of circumstances. Lin Mohan chuckled and teased, Chingru, are you selling yourself? Lin Mohan put away the jade token and looked at the second box. This time it was the box left by Saint Talisman. At that time, Saint Talisman left 2 ancient boxes in the heritage site. Lin Mohan was somewhat looking forward to what was left behind. After studying for a while, Lin Mohan knew how to open the box. Each box requires different runes, but Lin Mohan can't find any of them. With a soft sound, it was opened. The bright rays of light flew out of the box, accompanied by various auras. There is more than one treasure. Lin Mohan felt a lot of aura from it, indicating that there was more than one item in the box. These breaths are intertwined, powerful, and chaotic. When the box was fully opened, Lin Mohan discovered that there was an ancient talisman inside, which expanded the internal space of the box. In the expanded space, hundreds of various items lie quietly inside. This is the material needed by the ancient talisman warrior. Lin Mohan recognized at a glance that these items were the materials needed to make ancient talisman warriors. Many of the materials needed to make ancient talisman warriors have become extinct. Even if you have 12 core ancient talismans in hand, it will be difficult to refine an ancient talisman warrior as powerful as in ancient times. The materials in the box are naturally not all the materials needed by the ancient talisman warriors, but only a small part of them, not even 1/3. However, Lin Mohan could see that these materials left by the holy talisman Tianzuan were very precious. Even in ancient times, they were precious things. In this day and age, it is even more difficult to find one. Most importantly, replacements for these materials are difficult to find. Lin Mohan suspected that these materials were the leftovers left over when the Holy Talisman Heavenly Lord was refining the ancient talisman warriors. It was just scraps back then, but now it is an extremely precious thing. With them, combined with the 12 core ancient talismans, the combat power of the ancient talisman warriors can at least be raised to a higher level. The former ancient talisman warrior can fight against the Supreme Being. With the 12 core ancient talismans and these materials, I don't know if it can rival the Supreme. Lin Mohan thought in his heart, while looking forward to another ancient box. After all, they are all left by the Holy Talisman Tianzuan. Maybe there will be surprises. Lin Mohan opened the third box again. The moment the box was opened, a strange breath spread from the inside. Weapon spirit? Lin Mohan felt the breath of the weapon spirit and felt a little strange. Why did Holy Talisman Tianzuan leave a weapon spirit in the box? When he saw the items in the box clearly, he realized that he had thought wrong. What Holy Talisman Tianzuan left behind was not the weapon spirit, but the talisman spirit. There is an ancient talisman lying in the box. This ancient talisman, like the 12 core ancient talismans, has been permanently solidified and will not dissipate. On top of the 3 ancient talismans, there was a little guy sleeping soundly. Half of the little guy's body is floating on the ancient talisman, and the other half is inside the ancient talisman. He looks very cute. Ancient talismans produce spiritual intelligence, just like magic weapons give birth to weapon spirits, and formation spirits produce formation spirits, which are very rare. Only extremely perfect ancient talismans have a 1 in a billion chance of being born with spiritual wisdom and becoming a talisman spirit. Even for the Holy Talisman Heavenly Lord, it is very difficult to obtain an ancient talisman with spiritual intelligence. Over the years of building a world of rules, Lin Mohan didn't know how many ancient talismans he had drawn. Each ancient talisman could be called perfect, and he had never given birth to a single talisman. The previous formations could give birth to formation spirits, which was purely a stroke of luck. Lin Mohan communicates with the ancient talisman, and the information related to the ancient talisman immediately enters the soul. This rune spirit can be used to control any rune, including the ancient rune war king. With its existence, the ancient talisman warriors will become more agile and their combat power will be increased by at least 30%. While getting the ancient talisman information, Lin Mohan once again heard the somewhat unbeatable voice of the Holy Talisman Tianzuan. Holy Talisman Tianzuan has completely bid farewell to the world, and the last traces of his existence have been erased. This is what Holy Talisman Tianzuan said himself, and he left completely. I didn't expect to hear this guy's voice here. I am exploring the mysteries of life, creating creatures through runes, and want to be promoted to Taoist Master. Unfortunately, I failed. The road leading to Dao Zun from the Great World was blocked, and the Great World also lost hope. I can only leave and find a new path. If future generations are lucky enough to receive my inheritance through this talisman, they may be able to get a glimpse of the ultimate path that I pursue. Lin Mohan couldn't help but fell into deep thought after hearing this. He didn't expect that Fu Ling had another meaning for Holy Fu Tianzuan. Shengfu Tianzuan Enterprise creates real creatures and pursues the realm of Taoism. Whether it is an ancient talisman warrior or a talisman spirit, they are all part of his pursuit of the Great Road. And according to what Saint Fu Tianzuan said, Fu Ling is the final 067 product of his pursuit, and it is even more advanced than the ancient Fu warrior. Unfortunately, he still failed. This road was dead, so he had to find another way. Later, the ancient war broke out and the world was severely damaged, completely blocking his hope of being promoted to Taoist Master. Holy Talisman Tianzuan can only leave the big world and go to the Boundary Sea to continue pursuing his path. As for Fu Ling, since this path is blocked, there is no use for Chen Ling to keep him. But after all, it was where his hard work lay, and he was unwilling to destroy it, so he kept it. Lin Mohan has never thought of following the path of the Holy Talisman Heavenly Lord. For him, the existence of the talisman spirit can enhance the combat power of the ancient talisman warriors. Fu Ling is still sleeping, and it's not time to wake it up yet. Lin Moyu closed the box again, and when the ancient talisman warrior was finished, it would be the day when the talisman spirit awakened. No matter what holy talisman Tianzuan did, at least the things he left behind were useful to him. Lin Moyu felt that when he met again in the future, he would thank him first and then beat him up. Of course, the premise is that you can beat it. The last 2 of the 5 ancient boxes are left, the 2 boxes left by the mysterious owner. Lin Moyu felt that the things left by the mysterious owner must be better than those of the holy talisman. With a hint of expectation, Lin Moyu looked at the ancient box. The runes were flowing on the ancient box. Lin Moyu looked at it, but his brows furrowed slightly. Why does this rune feel more advanced than the rune of the holy talisman? There are still traces of the runes of the holy talisman Tianzuan, and this rune is as if it was made in heaven. Lin Moyu was surprised. Holy Talisman Heavenly Lord is already the representative of the highest achievement of runes in ancient times, and no one can surpass it. But now he has seen with his own eyes runes that are more advanced than the Holy Talisman Tianzuan. This feeling made him a little surprised and a little unbelievable. Lin Moyu felt the runes on the box. In the big world, the only thing that can surpass the Holy Talisman Tianzuan in terms of runes is the big world runes themselves. Does the mysterious master have anything to do with the runes of the big world? By the way, the world-burning talisman is also a special kind of rune. It seems that the mysterious master also knows runes, and his rune attainments are even more advanced than Fu Kaizen. Lin Moyu had almost no effort to unlock the ancient box before. This time, Lin Moyu was a little stumped. However, Lin Moyu has a special feeling for runes. Although the runes on the ancient box are difficult, he is still confident that he can solve them. He studied the runes on the box and fell into a state of forgetfulness. Faintly, Lin Moyu felt that he seemed to have touched another level of runes, but he only touched it. Lin Moyu knew very well that he was still far from this level. I don't know what this level is called, but Lin Moyu gave it a name, Tianqing. It means that it is completely natural. Even the Holy Talisman Tianzuan has difficulty reaching this level. After studying for an unknown amount of time, Lin Moyu finally understood the runes on the ancient box. He tried to draw an extremely complicated ancient talisman. The ancient talisman fell on the box, and the runes on the torma exactly corresponded. But the box was not opened, and the ancient talisman he drew quickly dissipated. Lin Moyu said to himself, it's not the runes that are wrong, but something missing. Thinking of the mysterious master's methods, Lin Moyu immediately realized what he was missing. The power of reality. Or the original power. Regardless of whether it is virtual or real power or original power, it cannot reach Lin Moyu. With a movement in his heart, flames rose in the hell of bones, and a force of virtual reality fell into his hand. Using the power of the soul as the pen and the power of virtual reality as the ink, Lin Moyu began to draw the runes. The runes drawn by the power of virtuality and reality exude a powerful aura. They are also ancient runes, and they can increase in value by tens of thousands. Lin Moyu whispered, the Supreme One has obtained the power of the Source, and his power has essentially surpassed that of the Holy One. And those powerful Supreme Beings understand the reality clearly and knock on the door to the Heavenly Lord. Now that I have my origin and understand the true and false, I am still a saint. What kind of realm can I be? He himself felt a little weird. What state he was in, he seemed to have embarked on a path that was different from others. The runes fell on the box, and the box suddenly burst into bright light. An indescribable vitality surged out, filling the entire world of rules. Originally, the world of rules was already full of vitality, and now this vitality has increased several times. The world tree keeps swaying. It likes this kind of vitality and is cheering happily. While swaying, the world tree greedily absorbs this vitality, and the countless spiritual flower fruits on the world tree seem to have matured. Lin Moyu saw what was in the box and exclaimed, a grain of soil. There is nothing else in the box. just a grain of dirt. This grain of soil is only the size of a fingernail, and all life comes from this. The vitality released is only an insignificant part. The vitality contained in the soil itself is so strong that it is unimaginable. Lin Mohan murmured to himself with wonder, what kind of soil is this? How can it have such huge vitality? The origin of this land must be extraordinary, and it is definitely not a product of the big world. If I guess correctly, it should come from outside the big world, from the boundary sea. Compared with it, what the holy talisman Tianzuan left behind is really far behind. The next second, Lin Mohan had a feeling that comparing it with the things of holy talisman Tianzuan was simply an insult to it. This grain of soil has natural nobility, even surpassing its original crystallization. This also reminded Lin Mohan of the boundary sea. There are countless opportunities in the boundary sea. If even this kind of thing could be obtained, how vast would the world outside the big world be? Lin Mohan reached out to pick it up, but found that it was extremely heavy. With his own power, he can destroy the stars with a snap of his fingers, and a single exertion of force can weigh more than 1.9 billion kilograms. But I couldn't even pick up a grain of dirt the size of a fingernail. Lin Mohan did not believe in evil. The immortal golden body was activated and its power exploded, but it remained motionless. How can this thing be so heavy? Lin Mohan couldn't believe it. At this time, there was a rushing sound in my ears, and the branches of the world were hanging down, rubbing against my ears. Lin Mohan felt the thought of World Tree and smiled. Why, do you want it? The World Tree rustled, as if saying, I want it. Lin Mohan stretched out the box and said, take it if you want. The World Tree immediately rolled up the box and put the box together at the root of its own tree. The whole tree was swaying with excitement, and the huge tree body was shaking. Lin Mohan saw with his own eyes that the root of the World Tree tipped the box over, and the grain of soil inside fell to the root of the tree. Lin Mohan slapped his head so hard that he couldn't laugh or cry. Why am I so stupid? The soil full of vitality fell into the roots of the World Tree. The roots continued to shake, and the majestic vitality began to spread on the World Tree. The World Tree suddenly fell into silence, and there was no movement. Lin Mohan knew that the World Tree was absorbing life, and it was estimated that there would be no reaction for a while. I don't know what will happen to the World Tree after absorbing this soil. Lin Mohan held the last box in his hand with some expectation. The last box. What is the meat? The things left behind by the mysterious owner are too high-end and definitely cannot be ordinary goods. After studying for a while, he once again mobilized the power of virtuality and reality to draw the runes. Click! The box opened in the light of runes. This time, no powerful aura rushed out. It could even be said that there was no movement after the box was opened. Lin Mohan's eyes widened and he looked at the items in the box in disbelief. How could the box left by the mysterious owner be empty? The reason why there is no breath coming out is because the things inside are all made of virtual power. A regular sacred stone composed of virtual power. Rune material composed of virtual power. Galaxy stone made of virtual power. 31 in the small box. There are hundreds of materials composed purely of imaginary power. These materials appear to be insubstantial, so they can overlap without affecting each other. They have common characteristics, and they are all composed of virtual power. As long as the power of reality is injected into them, they will become the supreme material that alternates reality and reality. These materials are the materials for constructing the divine path. The mysterious master left behind all the materials needed to build a new divine road. Previously, Lin Mohan was thinking about where to find the materials to build a new divine road. Although he had obtained the method to build a new divine road, the materials were hard to find. Unexpectedly, the mysterious master had already thought about it for himself. He was really too thoughtful. Mysterious master, who are you? Why do you know so clearly? With your ability, it is easy to leave the big world. Why don't you leave? The Great Road is hard to find. Don't you want to achieve the Great Road and become the Tao? Lin Mohan doesn't know what the mysterious owner is thinking, but she has always been thinking about the big world, and there is nothing wrong with that. All the calculations and arrangements are actually to save the world. Lin Mohan realized early on that the mysterious master's goals were consistent with his own, and the two parties could work together well. Carry this cooperation spanning millions of years to the end. No matter what the outcome is, Lin Mohan will not regret it, and I believe the mysterious owner will not regret it either. All is ready except for the opportunity. Lin Mohan said to himself, just waiting for the arrival of the Dojie, plundering the origin of the Dojie, and bringing the world back to life. Evolving new avenue runes, he can also create a new divine path to bring the world back to life. Putting away all the ancient boxes, Lin Mohan looked at the world tree. The vitality in the world tree is getting stronger and stronger, and the entire tree body is shaking and shaking. Lin Mohan could feel that world tree was very excited. As the owner of world tree's excitement also affected him, and he felt inexplicably excited. The branches of the world are swaying continuously, and the entire world of rules is also showing signs of expansion. The majestic vitality filled the entire world of rules, and Lin Mohan felt that the world tree had truly become the core of the world of rules. This kind of world tree is the real world tree. The majestic vitality extends along the huge tree body towards the branches. The fruits and spiritual flowers on the branches began to mature under the watering of the majestic vitality. Fruits and spiritual flowers mature very slowly. They matured once more than 100 years ago, but it was just a fruit. It was eaten by Lin Mohan and became the prototype of the rule world. The prototype of the world of rules opened the door to the holy world for Lin Mohan, paving the way for him to build the world of rules. After that, the fruits and spiritual flowers never matured again, not even one by one. Now, in this magical land full of vitality, the fruits and spiritual flowers have finally begun to mature. I don't know how mature it can be. The fruits and spiritual flowers gradually grew and began to bloom, and the world tree was suddenly shrouded in light, becoming misty and mysterious. The wonderful fragrance spreads in the world of rules. The fragrance goes straight into the soul, and the soul feels refreshed. The instinct of the soul tells Lin Mohan that whether it is a fruit or a spiritual flower, it is of great benefit to him. The mature spirit flower is very similar to the wood god flower. The spirit flower is not the wood god flower. The spirit flower is at a higher level than the wood god flower, in more ways than one. Lin Mohan even wondered whether Holy Talisman Tianzuan had seen the spirit flower somewhere, so he used the spirit flower as a sample to create the wood god flower. The spiritual flowers are blooming one after another, and the fragrance of the flowers is getting stronger and stronger. The soul feels that the soul power has increased just by smelling it. If the spirit flower were placed outside, the place where the spirit flower is located would immediately become a holy land for cultivation. The mature spiritual flower of the forest has 24 petals, which are well proportioned and very delicate, like a work of art. The fruits are also ripe. The fruit of the world tree is plump in appearance, and its fragrance is stronger, tempting the appetite. Lin Mohan couldn't help but want to pick it off and eat it. The spiritual flowers and fruits matured one after another until the world tree stopped changing. 100 fruits, 100 spiritual flowers. The others have also grown a lot and are not far from maturity. A small grain of soil has such a powerful effect. I don't know where the mysterious owner got it from. If there are more, maybe all the fruit and spirit flowers of the world tree can be matured. Lin Mohan felt that he was a bit fanciful. Even the mysterious owner could only get one. You can imagine how difficult it is to get it. Lin Mohan looked at the hundreds of fruits and hundreds of spiritual flowers, and when he was still considering how to distribute them, the infinite fusion spell star flew over first. It emits a hazy mist, directly covering a large area of trees. The spirit flower fruits on the tree disappeared instantly. It passed by the world tree, and 10 fruits and field flowers were missing from the world tree. You have such a good appetite, be careful. Lin Mohan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This guy didn't even say hello, he just came over and ate, and he even ate a tenth of it in one go. But Lin Mohan didn't blame it, and I didn't blame him if he ate them all. Infinite 843 integrated into his own cultivation process and provided too much help. Lin Mohan looked at the infinite fusion and said loudly, "Do you still want to eat?" The infinite fusion shakes from side to side, which means, "No need, I'm full." Lin Mohan smiled, and with a flash of consciousness, several legion rulers flew out and flew towards the spirit flower. After obtaining the bone battle formation in the war realm, Lin Mohan already knew that the first person he needed for a second pregnancy with the spirit flower was the legion ruler. Let the rulers of the legion be born with wisdom and learn to master the bone battle formation, manipulate the war realm. This is a very powerful army. 1 million people from the other side can rival the supreme. If there are millions of saints, they may be able to fight against powerful supreme beings. The legion ruler flew into the spirit flower. As it approached the spirit flower, the legion ruler continued to shrink and finally entered the spirit flower minister. The spirit flower slowly closed while swaying, and its 24 petals gathered together. Lin Mohan can feel that there is a magical power flowing in the spirit flower. This power is of extremely high level. It is not the power of the original source, but it is not weaker than the original force at all. The world tree is very unusual to begin with. Lin Mohan has never seen anyone's talent reach this level, which is very contrary to common sense. Lin Mohan waited quietly, waiting for the end of the spiritual flower's pregnancy. 3 days later, the spiritual flower that gave birth to the ruler of the legion suddenly began to wither. The speed was very fast, and it was completely withered in the blink of an eye. The ruler of the legion flew out from inside and knelt down in front of Lin Mohan. "Greetings to my lord." The ruler of the legion knelt neatly and spoke loudly and to the point. Lin Mohan feels that the connection between himself and him has become closer. Lin Mohan can feel the other person's consciousness. As long as he is willing, the other person can't hide anything he is thinking from him. In other words, the leader of the legion who gave birth to spiritual wisdom is completely open to himself. You can give orders, control the other person's thoughts, and even modify the other person's personality memory at will, changing the way the other person thinks about problems. He has absolute control over the legion rulers. Absolute loyalty is the bottom line and will never change. With Lingji, you can give vague instructions without having to do every step personally. Combat methods will become diverse, and the combat effectiveness of the undead army will be greatly improved. Lin Mohan was very satisfied with the result and spoke slowly, "You are the first legion ruler with spiritual intelligence. From now on, you will be the commander-in-chief of the first legion, named Commander-in-Chief number 1. Then you eat him." Lin Mohan's heart moved, and a ripe world fruit automatically fell off and flew into number 1's hand. Commander number 1 took the world fruit and stuffed it directly into his mouth. He will not hesitate at all to Lin Mohan's orders. The world fruit exploded and turned into a strange force that enveloped Commander 1. The aura on Commander number 1's body surged sharply, and he froze motionless on the spot. The soul flame in his head was beating rapidly, and the power of the world fruit had entered the soul world. Lin Mohan ordered him not to resist, and Commander-in-Chief number 1 complied completely without resisting at all. His soul world has changed, undergoing transformation and sublimation under the influence of the fruits of the world. He exuded the aura of a world of rules. The fruit of the world, when taken under the Saint Realm, has a certain chance of awakening the prototype of the world of rules. If there is already a rule world, you can also enhance the rule world. Although the leader of the legion has reached the Holy Realm, he does not rule the world. After taking the world fruit, there is a certain probability that he will be able to give birth to the prototype of a regular world. As long as there is a prototype, it will be easy to handle the next step. If you continue to take the world fruit, you can quickly enhance the world of rules until it becomes a real world of rules. Commander-in-Chief number 1 was very lucky. Just one world fruit gave him the prototype of a rules world. At the moment when the prototype of the rules world was born, Commander number 1's aura suddenly improved a lot. Lin Mohan raised his eyebrows. "Oh? It really happened. With a world of rules, Commander Number 1 became a true saint. Lin Mohan checked his attributes and found that his combat power became stronger after becoming a saint. Under the control technique, he will not be weaker than any holy master. While satisfied, Lin Mohan was also a little disappointed. The attribute he wanted most did not appear. If you want to master the bone battle formation, you need to have millions of subordinates at the same time. The ruler of the Legion can only control 100,000 subordinates. Even if spiritual intelligence is born and he becomes a saint, the number of 100,000 remains unchanged. Did I miss something? Lin Mohan was thinking, and at this moment the infinite fusion spell stars flew down automatically and kept spinning around Lin Mohan. It sent out a stream of consciousness. I'm coming, I'm coming. Lin Mohan smiled and said, okay, you come. More. Infinite fusion is like a child, babbling. More? Lin Mohan thought for a moment and understood what it was. He summoned more Legion rulers and lined them up, allowing them to be chosen by Infinite Fusion. Infinite Fusion selected 999 Legion rulers, plus Commander Number 1, which is exactly 1,000. Infinite Fusion sprayed out mist, covering 1,000 Legion rulers with the laws of chaos. Under the influence of the law of chaos, the rulers of the Legion actually began to merge with each other. Lin Mohan felt that its power was getting stronger, and even the prototype of the newly born rules world began to become stronger. The rulers of 1,000 legions have merged into one. This fusion technique is much stronger than the fusion technique of the Black Blood realm. Lin Mohan secretly made a comparison in his mind. Although it was not as good as the fusion technique of the Black Blood world in terms of power increase, it was a complete victory in other aspects. The Legion rulers who have undergone infinite fusion are truly integrated into one body, permanently fused, and will never be separated. After the fusion of their soul powers, the world of rules became complete and powerful. Although it was not perfect, it was no worse than ordinary saints. The fusion went smoothly this time. It didn't take long for the fusion to end, and Lin Mohan couldn't wait to check the attributes. Commander of the Undead. Level, Holy Realm. Command Unit, 1 million. Ability, Control. Command, can control the undead army and form an independent army. After the fusion, the ruler of the legions was named Commander of the Undead, and his realm was indeed as high as the Saint realm. The most important thing is that the number that the undead commander can control has reached 1 million, which has met the requirements of the bone battle formation. Lin Mohan felt a little strange when he looked at the changed undead commander. It was as if Master Chong had been resurrected from the ancient tomb. He felt more and more that his mysterious master had something to do with it, otherwise why would everyone have similar legions? Could it be that I am the reincarnation of the mysterious master? But I clearly came from another world, how could I be his reincarnation? Or, what I got is his inheritance, and that system is the mysterious master. But they don't look alike. The system has disappeared for so many years, and I don't know where it went. Lin Mohan was puzzled and simply stopped thinking about it. As long as you are strong enough, you will solve all the puzzles sooner or later. Infinite Fusion flew to Lin Mohan and kept circling around Lin Mohan, as if saying, praise me, praise me. Lin Mohan smiled and said, well done, how about integrating it with Suindian? Although after the fusion, the number of Legion rulers will be greatly reduced, the combat power of the Undead Legion will rise sharply. Between gains and losses, Lin Mohan naturally makes clear calculations. Infinite Fusion swayed left and right, and a thought came, they are not qualified. Lin Mohan understood after thinking for a moment that if he wanted to integrate, he needed a core. This core is the ruler of the Legion who has spiritual intelligence and was born in a world of rules. Lin Mohan's heart moved, and he immediately asked other Legion rulers to get into the spirit flower for the last pregnancy. There are 89 spiritual flowers left, and Lin Mohan divides them into batches of 10. The second conception of the spirit flower can be 100% successful, but the world's fruit is not 100% successful. And Lin Mohan also plans to leave some world fruits for his use. When the spirit flower was gestating, Lin Mohan took out the war realm. The war world is actually a world of rules. Using the method passed down by the mysterious master, Toncher No. 1 can refine the war world with his own world of rules. The refining process went smoothly, and then the war realm belonged to him. Then the bone battle formation was handed over to Commander-in-Chief No. 1, and 1 million skeleton generals were assigned to it. The bone battle formation seems to be created for the undead military talents. Commander No. 1 learns it very quickly and can master it in a short time. Lin Mohan has foreseen that a powerful army strong enough to fight against the Supreme Card will soon be born. His first legion is stronger than the legion in the ancient tomb. Each of his skeleton generals is a saint in a world without rules. When combined together, they can definitely suppress ordinary supreme beings. Breed, take the fruits of the world, and fuse. The world fruit is not always successful. In order to increase the success rate, Lin Mohan even turned on the explosive luck technique to improve his luck to the extreme. Facts have proved that explosive luck is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Lin Mohan consumed 80 world fruits, and finally 50 legion rulers successfully obtained the prototype of the rule world, and through infinite fusion, they transformed into undead commanders. Each undead commander can lead an army of millions of undead to exert supreme-level combat power through the bone battle formation. The only pity is that there is only one war realm. Except for the first legion, the rest of the undead legions can only enter the rule world of the undead commander. As a result, they will not be able to enjoy many of the advantages of war realm. The special advantage of resurrection in the war world is of great benefit to the continuous war. Even if there are undead souls, the advantages of war realm are irreplaceable. Lin Mohan will never forget that the undead are ineffective when in the Boundary Sea. As for the war world, this problem should not exist. 50,000 legion rulers were consumed in exchange for 50 undead commanders. This deal was really worth it. Suddenly there were 50 legions of supreme combat power. Lin Mohan's eyes were shining. 843. If there is such an army, what is the alliance of hundreds of tribes? It is just a direct push. There is no need for any strategy. Lin Mohan's eyes were shining. If all the legion rulers can be merged into undead commanders, there will be 5,000 undead commanders. It's a pity that the number of skeleton god generals is only 2.5 billion, and they can only supply 2,500 undead commanders. Besides, the spirit flower and world fruit are not enough. I seem to be thinking too much. Lin Mohan put away his unrealistic ideas and asked all undead commanders to learn and practice the bone battle formation, striving to master it as soon as possible. The door to the training room, which had been closed for nearly 20 years, finally opened, and Mohan slowly walked out of the training room. The world of rules has completely converged, and his foundation is too solid, without any breath leaking out. As long as Lin Mohan doesn't want to, not even the human emperor can detect Lin Mohan's aura. The human emperor appeared in front of Lin Mohan, with some doubts. Did it succeed? Lin Mohan showed a slight aura of the world of rules, and the powerful aura rushed towards him, and the emperor suddenly showed joy, a perfect world of rules. Perfect level? Of course, more than that. Lin Mohan did not explain, but took out a world fruit and threw it to the human emperor. Senior human emperor, try to see if this is of any use to you. The human emperor took over the fruit of the world, and he could see that it was a genius treasure of extremely high grade. But he couldn't tell what the specific use was. The human emperor smiled and said, I have the intention, but now my human soul is divided into two parts, and I live in the magic weapon. That's it. Lin Mohan smiled and said, since there are technological magic weapons, it means that there are technological cultivation methods in the world. Maybe the road ahead is not blocked yet. Senior, don't be discouraged. It doesn't hurt to give it a try. There will be no loss anyway. What? If Senior thinks this fruit is too precious, then there is no need. I still have it here. As he spoke, another world fruit appeared in Lin Mohan's hand. Seeing this, the human emperor stopped being polite and directly put the fruits of the world into his body. The outside world is just a projection, and his real body now is a technological magic weapon. The fruits of the world are integrated into the magic weapon and release the magical calendar. The human emperor's body began to vibrate violently and roar, and the other side cultivators on the other side were startled. There has been no abnormal movement in the human emperor for tens of thousands of years, so why did it suddenly happen? Lin Mohan keenly sensed that the human emperor's aura had become stronger. It seems like what I thought, whether it is a magic weapon or a practitioner, as long as there is a world of rules, the fruits of the world will be useful. This also proves that the world tree does not come from the big world. There are no technological magic weapons in the big world. If the world tree is born from the big world, it will definitely not be effective against technological magic weapons. Most likely, the world tree comes from the boundary sea. Lin Mohan was thinking, and the human emperor's projection appeared again. The emperor's eyes were filled with excitement. It really works. My world of rules has become stronger and has almost reached perfection. Lin Mohan smiled and said, "Are there any other changes?" The human emperor nodded. "Originally, my power could only barely cover the human star field, which is about 300,000 light-years in diameter. Now, the range I can cover has reached 500,000 light-years, which is much larger than before." Lin Mohan smiled and said, "The magic weapon you got in the World Sea was very extraordinary." He didn't take the credit on himself, but on the magic weapon obtained by the human emperor. Being able to carry the emperor for 100,000 years, this technological magic weapon is indeed unusual. The human emperor also smiled and said, "Don't be humble, I know my business." Lin Mohan said, "Maybe there will be that day." The human emperor also nodded solemnly, "I also hope that day will come." Lin Mohan took out the remaining 9 world fruits and said, "Please give these to Mr. Xing and the saints. I have other things to do, so I won't go to them." The human emperor promised, "Don't worry, I will send it to them." There are now 7 saints in the human race, including Xing Lao, who need a total of 8 fruits. The last fruit, Lin Mohan, was prepared for Xiaowu. No matter how accurate Tianzuan was for Xiaowu, there would definitely not be a world fruit. Xiaowu's cultivation speed is fast, and he is not too far away from the Holy Lord. Lin Mohan asked again, "Did anything happen during my years of seclusion?" The human emperor said, "It's not a big deal. After you retreated, the world barrier was shaken once. It should be Fairy Han who broke the world barrier. There is no news yet about the Buddha clan you asked us to look for. The Starry Skyfish people have cooperated deeply with us." Lin Mohan smiled slightly. "Are the Starry Skyfish men still obedient?" Human emperor said, "It seems pretty good so far. Just be obedient." Lin Mohan had a fishman sword in his hand, and if he didn't obey, he would cut it off. The human emperor continued, "Princess Ro has returned to the human race, and Wu Xingzuan has arranged a residence for her. However, seeing that you have not come out of seclusion, Princess Ro also went into seclusion some time ago and is currently practicing. Miss Yuju was also taken there and kept company with Princess Ro. The two have a good relationship and are currently in retreat with Princess Ro." Lin Mohan smiled and said, "Then don't bother them. It's more important to do business first." After finishing speaking, Lin Mohan opened the door to the space. As he entered the door, he suddenly said, "I may go outside the territory. If they leave the border, tell them, don't worry." The human emperor nodded, "Don't worry, pay attention to safety. It is not safe outside the territory, even Lin Mohan must be careful." Lin Mohan entered the space gate, crossed 100,000 light years, and left the Divine City Star territory. After the space door opened several times, Lin Mohan has left the human race. His target is the ancient ruins where the Dragon Ball is. Going to the ancient ruins is not only to find the Dragon Balls, but also to find the remains of the Supreme Being. If there is a Supreme Being in the fighting world, Lin Mohan must be prepared to deal with it. As for the remains of Tianzuan, Lin Moyu still remembers the words of Holy Talisman Tianzuan, that it is extremely dangerous, and even the peak supreme person cannot guarantee safety. But think about it from another angle, it is possible for the peak supreme one to obtain the remains of the Heavenly Lord. In this case, what if we can get the remains of a supreme being first? Lin Moyu thinks very well, and he hopes that things will develop as he wants. The 6 most dangerous ancient ruins in human records, the fingertip ruins, have been unlocked by Lin Moyu. Among the 6 ruins, the fingertip ruins are less dangerous. The saints who entered it were only injured, and no saint died in it. The Fangshiyu ruins in front of us are relatively more dangerous. There was once a human being named Lord Shiyue who went in and never came out again, hence the name of the ruins. During the later surveillance of the human race, it was also discovered that saints from the demon race and the golden eagle race also entered them, but they also never came out again. At least 3 saints have been buried in the stone meteorite ruins, and perhaps more saints died inside in earlier times. Lin Moyu stood at the entrance to the ruins. The ruins were very large, with a diameter of more than 10 light years. They were wrapped in inexplicable power and produced countless fogs to cover them. Standing outside the ruins, you cannot see what is going on inside. Lin Moyu tried to let the skeleton god general in, but the moment he entered, the general lost contact with him. This situation is normal. The ruins are ancient battlefields. There are peak supreme beings and even deities who have fallen. Their power has spread for millions of years, forming an independent world. The skeleton god general cannot sense the situation inside the ruins and can only enter in person. After Lin Moyu stopped for a moment, he stepped into the king with a firm look. No matter how dangerous it is, you have to take a look before you can be reconciled. The scene in front of him changed and the fog dissipated. Before he could see the world in front of him clearly, a cold light flashed in front of his eyes, and Lin Moyu's hair exploded all over his body. The instinct of the immortal golden body was activated, and Lin Moyu turned into a gang in an instant. The flames collided with the cold light, and with a bang, Lin Moyu's whole body was shaken, and he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Only then did he see clearly that the cold light was a sword. The sword flew back and was caught by someone. The person who caught the sword had his upper body naked, and his muscles were extremely developed, full of explosive power. This warrior is obviously a human race, and he has an ancient aura all over his body. It's a pity that he lost his head and became a headless warrior. He is already dead, but his obsession keeps him fighting. Obsession comes from this world. Lin Moyu understood one thing in an instant. The entire world of ruins seemed to be shrouded in a terrifying idea. This idea was very simple, which was to fight the eternal war monster. While he was thinking, the headless warrior rushed over again. The sword was swung, and the light of the sword cut through the sky and the earth. A skeleton god suddenly appeared next to Lin Moyu, and the Guichi sword blocked the sword for Lin Moyu. The headless warrior was shaken back, and the skeleton god general was also shaken away. In terms of pure strength, the skeleton god will be inferior to his opponent. At this moment, the skeleton god general's combat power is comparable to the weakest saint in a world without rules. Comparing it with the skeleton god general, it can be seen that the power of the headless warrior is also in the holy realm. This skeleton god general was the one that came in before. When Lin Moyu entered the ruins, the 2 sides regained the feeling. The skeleton god general is now blessed by multiple laws. The power of death makes all its attacks corrosive, and the power of life makes it extremely resilient. The skeleton god will stabilize his body while flying upside down and rush over again. As if teleporting, he rushed back to the headless warrior in an instant, swung his bone sword, and unleashed a fierce sword energy. The headless warrior swung his sword and tore the sword energy into pieces, and fought with the general again. Lin Moyu watched the battle between the 2 sides and did not send any more skeleton generals. Now that we have just entered the ruins, many things have not yet been seen clearly, so Lin Moyu is not in a hurry. The existence of the headless warrior is a good way for him to understand the ruins. Lin Moyu looked at the ruins. The ruins were vast and the terrain in front of him was a plain. There are no clouds in the sky, just clouds of mist. Lin Mohan felt a terrifying consciousness shrouding the ruins, which was depressing. He flew into the air, looked down from the air, stood in the air, and saw the world further away. There is still a plain in the distance, but a stone monument appears. Tombstone. Lin Mohan said softly. Stone tablets and stone tablets are different. Some stone tablets are used to record some things that happened, and some stone tablets are tombstones. Already knowledgeable about ancient times, Lin Mohan can clearly distinguish the differences between the stone tablets. The stone monument across the square is the tombstone. Lin Mohan did not pass by immediately. He looked at the sky and continued to rise. As he rose, the pressure he felt became more and more intense. Lin Mohan felt the strong will more clearly, and the strong will evolved into real pressure, falling on himself. When he reached an altitude of 10,000 meters, he could no longer continue to rise. At this moment, he is still far away from the real horizon, but the pressure is too great. If he tries hard, he can continue to rise, but it is meaningless. He didn't come to the ruins to fight against the wool that had been left for thousands of years. The Supreme Realm is right, it's not much better than the 100 Battles Supreme. Could it be that these ruins are just leftover from the Supreme Realm? Lin Mohan doesn't think it's that simple. It's just a relic left by the Supreme Realm, and it won't be so dangerous. He had just entered here before. If he had been an ordinary saint, he would have been injured by the attack of this headless warrior. When he looked at the battle below, he found that Ku's situation had changed. The headless warriors become stronger as they fight, and the skeleton god will be suppressed. Lin Mohan narrowed his eyes slightly. The skeleton god general's combat power has become weaker. The power of the skeleton god general is almost inexhaustible. Even if the war continues for several years, the power will not weaken at all. But now, the skeleton god general's power has really weakened, at least 20% weaker than usual. Similarly, the power of the headless warrior has become stronger, as if the weakened part of the skeleton god has fallen on the headless war king. Over and over again, the skeleton god will be completely at a disadvantage and will be defeated before long. Lin Mohan vaguely felt that it should be related to the wool that enveloped the surrounding areas. With a thought in his heart, several more digital generals flew out to join the battle group. During the group fight, the situation suddenly reversed, and the headless warrior was quickly defeated by the skeleton god general. The sharp bone sword swung out powerful sword energy and tore the body of the headless warrior into pieces. The headless warrior tore into pieces and exploded, staining the vast grassland red with blood. The grassland seemed to be stimulated and shook violently. Lin Mohan was condescending and looked at the holes exposed on the grassland. In the cave, the headless warriors were resurrecting one by one. At the same time, a powerful aura was released from the tombstone in the distance, as if a terrifying existence was about to awaken. Lin Mohan's expression changed slightly. He took a step forward and reached the edge of the tombstone in an instant. He discovered that the wool that enveloped the surrounding areas and the changes in the grassland were all related to the tombstones. Tomb of the Supreme Star Ping. The tombstone is engraved with 6 large characters, and it is indeed the tomb of a supreme being. Lin Mohan has never heard of the name Xingping Supreme. There were many supreme beings in ancient times, so some of them are not recorded. Then behind the tombstone, Lin Mohan saw another stone tablet. This stone tablet is smaller than the tombstone, and I couldn't see it because it was blocked by the tombstone. There are also 6 words engraved on the stone tablet: Xingping Legion Cemetery 0. Xingping Supreme, Xingping Legion. If Lin Mohan realizes something, the soldiers buried here were once members of the Xingping Legion. During the war that year, the cultivators of the Saint Realm formed a legion, led by the Supreme Realm, and fought brutal battles with the enemies. Many of the supreme beings were injured or died, many legions also fought to collapse, and many were wiped out. If I'm not mistaken, the Xingping Legion is an army that has been completely wiped out. With Xingping Supreme's ability, it is impossible to form such a ruin. Obviously, there is a more powerful existence here. Lin Mohan has already made a judgment that the meteorite trail is an ancient battlefield. A shocking war broke out here. A large number of Supremes led their armies and died fighting here. The battlefield eventually turned into ruins. As for whether any Tianzuan died in battle here, it's hard to say. Looking at the resurrected headless warriors, who were once the saints of the human race, Lin Mohan did not want 507 to fight with them. Xingping Supreme's will is also recovering, and Lin Mohan also doesn't want to fight against Xingping Supreme. Xingping Supreme is different from 100 Wars Supreme. 100 Wars Supreme at least retains his original consciousness and can communicate. Xingping Supreme only has the will to fight and has lost the possibility of communication. This war is meaningless. Walk. Lin Mohan thought, and the laws of space rolled. He took a step forward and teleported hundreds of millions of miles to leave the grassland. The space was distorted and transformed, and Lin Mohan disappeared in front of the tombstone, but the next second, Lin Mohan reappeared. Lin Mohan found that he was still where he was, not even moving an inch. What happened? Lin Mohan was puzzled. This was the first time he encountered this situation. The laws of space were not suppressed, and he also teleported, but why was he still in the same place? The law of space rolled again, and the door of space appeared in front of him. But at the same time, a space door also appeared not far behind Lin Mohan. The two space gates were penetrated at the same time. As long as he entered, he would come out from the other space gate, which was still in vain. He clearly positioned the space gate 10 light years away. This range even exceeded the diameter of the ruins. Normally, it should be possible to leave the meteorite ruins directly. But as a result, his position was distorted and he appeared directly behind him. The laws of space seem to be out of order. The laws can be used, but the positioning is completely wrong. An idea flashed in his mind, and Lin Mohan suddenly understood what was going on. It is the will of Supreme Xingping that affects his positioning of space. This effect happened unconsciously, and Lin Mohan didn't even feel it. After all, Lin Mohan is not yet in the Supreme Realm, and he doesn't know much about the Supreme's methods. Xingping Supreme gives Lin Mohan the feeling that his combat power is not much better than that of 100 Battles Supreme, and he is definitely not a strong person in the Supreme Realm. But some of his methods are a bit unbelievable. In just a few seconds, the recovery of the Xingping Legion came to an end. A large number of soldiers had already stood up, and the aura on their bodies became stronger and stronger. Lin Mohan really didn't want to fight against the Xingping Legion, so he chose to avoid it again. If the law of space cannot be used, then use flying ones. He flew directly into the distance at an astonishing speed. He is a saint. Even if he does not use the law of space, he can reach 70,000 centimeters per second. The grassland is endless. Lin Mohan flew for a few seconds and found that he was still on the grassland. Sai was still shrouded in the will of Supreme Xingping and could not really leave. A low roar sounded in his soul, and the will of the Starry Sky Supreme became clear. Lin Mohan only felt a blur in front of his eyes and saw the tombstone of Xingping Supreme again. Xingping Supreme not only affected the spatial positioning, but also affected the space, making it impossible to even fly out. The soldiers on the grassland have recovered, and the murderous intent of the sun has locked onto them. They are Legion members, soldiers, and they must obey orders in everything. Now they only need to wait for the order from Supreme Xingping, and they will launch the most violent attack. None of these warriors had heads, and each of them was holding a sword. They looked terrifying. Lin Mohan could feel their fighting spirit soaring into the sky. Even though they were separated by millions of years, their fighting spirit had not diminished at all. Looks like we have to fight. Lin Mohan sighed softly, even if he didn't want to fight, but in this situation, what would happen if he didn't fight? Xingping Supremes will become stronger and stronger, and the majestic pressure swept down from the sky as if it had substance. Lin Mohan's body sank, his immortal golden body burned, and his soul exploded with powerful power. The soul power of the Supreme Realm blocked the will of Supreme Xingping. Lin Mohan is not afraid, he just doesn't want to fight. Kill. The sound of murder rang out from Supreme Xingping's will, condensing into a word kill and exploding on the grass source. Tens of thousands of headless warriors rose into the sky and charged towards Lin Mohan. Killing intent shook the world, they formed a battle formation, and their combat power increased dramatically. Faced with the impact of murderous intent, Lin Mohan remained motionless and whispered to himself, "Then just do it." In an instant, a large ancient tomb appeared in front of him. The war world appeared, and coffins were opened one after another. The first army of the undead, led by Commander Number 1, will lead millions of skeleton gods to rush out of the war world and form a battle formation made of bones in an instant. Commander-in-Chief Number 1 has completely mastered the bone battle formation. Millions of skeleton god generals in the Saint Realm have formed a battle formation, and their combat power can exceed that of many supreme beings. Beat them! Lin Mohan issued the order, but did not specify how to do it. The fire in Commander Number 1's eyes flashed with the light of wisdom. He waved his sword and roared, "The Law of Bones." The skeleton god will have the white bone law galaxy appearing above his head at the same time, and the stars will converge and turn into a vast ocean. The bone battle formation suddenly started, and all the forces gathered together. The two battle formations collided, and terrifying energy swept across the grass source. The earth exploded, and millions of miles of grassland seemed to have been plowed and blown to pieces. The battle formation, composed of 10,000 headless warriors, was shattered by the impact, and all the headless warriors were knocked away. The battle formations collided, and it was the Bones battle formation that won. The battle formation composed of headless warriors can almost exert half-step of the supreme combat power, which is much worse than the Bone battle formation. Commander Number 1 waved his saber again and roared, "Bone sword." The white bone surged and formed countless war blades, killing towards the headless warrior. The headless warrior waved his sword and resisted the bone war blade. However, the difference in strength was too big. Without the blessing of the battle formation, the headless warrior could not stop the bone war blade at all, and was torn to pieces almost instantly. The tombstone roared, Xingping Supremes will roared, and a huge 1.3 figure appeared in the sky. Xingping Supreme finally appeared. He was wearing an exquisite armor, and his aura was extremely powerful. Unfortunately, like the headless warrior, he also lost his head. Lin Mohan frowned slightly. Why did he lose his head? Where did his head go? Supreme Xingping holds a magic weapon in his hand. In the middle of the magic weapon is a star, and the two heads are like scales. His magic weapon is a star scale. The balance is maintained at both ends of the scale, and the will of the Supreme Star Ping rolls, activating the scale. One end of the scale is depressed, and the other end is tilted high. The enemy is weak and we are strong. A terrifying storm of will swept across the grassland. Lin Mohan's body became heavier, and he felt as if his strength had been weakened. Not only him, the power of the undead army was also collectively weakened. The headless warriors who had just died were resurrected one after another and formed a legion again. Their fighting power is stronger than before. Refuses to die? Lin Mohan looked at the reappearance of the Xingping Legion. This group of headless warriors actually resurrected after death. Rebirth of flesh and blood, rebirth again, the feeling is the same as that of a resurrected person. The two legions collided again, and the Xingping Legion was once again smashed into pieces by the first legion of the undead. This is a crushing victory in terms of pure strength. Even if it is weakened, it still defeats the Xingping army. The star balance magic weapon of Xingping Supreme tilted a little again at this time. The end representing the undead army fell lower, while the end representing the Xingping army rose higher. With the change of the star balance, the undead legion was weakened again, while the star-level legion was strengthened again. Shuizhong was reborn for the second time, and the dead Xingping legion was resurrected for the second time, and it was stronger than before. The power exuded by the entire legion seemed to have reached the supreme level. After the first legion of the undead was weakened twice, its strength has hit rock bottom and is about to fall out of the supreme realm. The strength of both sides is getting closer, and Lin Mohan feels that as long as it happens again, the strength difference between them may be reversed. The key to the reason for this is Xingping Supreme's magic weapon. There is no doubt about this, as long as it is an individual, it can be seen at a glance. True 02 What puzzles Lin Mohan is not the Xingping Supreme, but why these people from the Xingping Legion can keep resurrecting. Their method of resurrection is somewhat similar to the resurrection of the dead, but the resurrection of the dead can surpass the peak of life and fully recover. The Xingping Legion was resurrected twice, but their heads were still missing. Lin Mohan suddenly realized something, his vision of the undead opened, and he smiled. Sure enough, their souls are not here. The Xingping Legion had died in battle in ancient times, and their bodies were preserved in a special way, still possessing combat effectiveness. But their souls are not here, they have also been preserved in special ways. In this way, no matter how much damage they endure or how many times their body collapses, they can complete the reorganization. When you reach the Supreme Realm, it is not difficult to reshape your physical body. If Tianzuan takes action, as long as the flesh and blood is still there, reshaping the body will only be a matter of the blink of an eye. There were even some supreme beings with powerful body refining skills in ancient times who could shed their blood and be reborn. As long as the soul is immortal, physical injuries are nothing at all. Lin Mohan felt that his guess was correct. The Xingping Legion might have died long ago. In this way, they continued to participate in the war and fought until the end. If I can find their heads, I can use resurrection of the dead to resurrect them and fight again. Although I do not lack supreme combat power, I am not a true supreme after all. The fighting world is coming, the more complete the preparations, the better. Lin Mohan said in a low voice with a hint of respect, originally I shouldn't have fought with you, but in this day and age, I also have things I should do. I'm sorry. Lin Mohan muttered softly, and Commander-in-Chief No. 2 appeared beside him. The rules world opens, and millions of skeleton gods will fly out of the rules world of Commander No. 2 to form a battle formation. The second army of the undead, led by Commander No. 2, is no different from the first army except for the battle realm. Commander No. 2 waved his sword and roared in a low voice, the Law of Bones. Boom! Millions of law galaxies emerged, gathering into a lost star sea. The bones in the sea are churning like a hell of bones, extremely terrifying. Lin Mohan looked at Xingping Supreme and gave the order, kill him. Commander No. 2 waved his sword and led the Second Legion into a stream of light to kill Xingping Supreme. Bone chop. The law of the Second Legion, the Sea of Stars, erupted, evolved into a giant bone sword, and chopped off the head of Xingping Supreme. Numbers 1 and 2 are both commanders of the undead. After awakening their spiritual wisdom, they both have different personalities. Different personalities have completely different combat methods. Commander No. 2's fighting style is more ferocious than that of Commander No. 1. The Supreme Pingxing did not dodge or evade, and the star scale flew out from his hand to face the sword. Huge stars evolved in the sky, and the stars crashed into the sword with blazing flames. Boom! The stars were blown away by the sword, but the Second Legion was also pushed back at the same time, and their momentum was suddenly blocked. While the stars were blasted away, the First Legion seemed to be under a powerful attack. The sea of bones and stars continued to twist, rolled in huge waves, and almost collapsed. Lin Mohan saw it and said, "The power has been transferred." Although the attack of the Second Legion was on the scale of stars, it was transferred to the First Legion. Fortunately, not all of the power was transferred, otherwise the First Legion would most likely collapse. Commander No. 2 reorganized his army and killed them again. Xingping Supreme suddenly turned the star scale upside down, and the sky and the earth seemed to be shifting. The Second Legion seemed to have lost its target in an instant. It was clearly charging forward, but suddenly began to retreat. Lin Mohan suddenly realized, it's about controlling space. It seems that it is this ability that limits my space laws. Sure enough, the Supreme One has his own methods. No Supreme One is easy to deal with. See how many legions you can block. Commander number 3 appeared, and he led the 3rd Legion to attack and join the battle group. No matter how strong Xingping Supreme was when he was alive, but now that he is dead, no matter how strong he is after death, how much stronger can he be? Faced with the siege of 3 undead legions, Lin Mohan knew that he could not hold out for long. Even if he can hold on, so what? He is still the 4th Legion or the 5th Legion. There are 50 such legions in total. The addition of the 3rd army of the undead put Supreme Xingping at a disadvantage. He was in trouble, focusing on one thing and the other, and finally the army of the undead found a flaw. The bone slash fell on his body, smashing Xingping Supreme into pieces. Xingping Supreme collapsed, his flesh and blood turned to ashes, and disappeared without a trace. The wool that had been weighing on his head since he entered the ruins also dissipated at this moment. The Xingping Legion collapsed together, and their flesh and blood fell on the grass and was quickly absorbed by the grass. The grassland had been badly beaten in the war and had completely lost its previous appearance. Lin Mohan came to the tombstone and saluted respectfully, "Senior, I'm sorry." The tombstone buzzed, and gusts of wind blew over, seeming to be responding to something. Lin Mohan crossed the tombstone and flew forward. This time, he flew across the grassland smoothly and entered another area. A waterfall hangs in the sky, with water falling thousands of feet. The waterfall is as majestic as the Milky Way in the 9 heavens and can be seen thousands of miles away. The water falling from the waterfall could submerge 10 stars in an instant. But the strangest thing is that there is a desert on the earth, which is extremely dry. The water of the waterfall fell on the desert and disappeared. This time we have entered the territory of a supreme being again. In the ancient war, each supreme had his own battlefield, which eventually formed different areas. When Lin Mohan was still 1,000,000 meters away from the waterfall suddenly turned, and a stream of water turned into a water dragon, instantly crossing 1,000,000 meters of void and rushing towards Lin Mohan. Lin Mohan instinctively avoided it. At this time, the yellow sand exploded and turned into a yellow salon, lying towards Lin Mohan. Lin Mohan avoided it again. He kept wandering in the sky, dodging attacks. Both the water dragon and the salon exude the aura of the supreme realm, and Lin Mohan doesn't want to have a head-on confrontation with it. The 2 dragons were extremely fast, like lightning, constantly chasing Lin Mohan. During the pursuit, Lin Mohan approached the waterfall. Whether it is a water dragon or a salon, they are just appearances. To pass here, we must find the true source. Just when he was still 10,000 meters away from the waterfall, a rainbow suddenly appeared above the waterfall. A figure appeared above the rainbow, and the next second the sound of the soul filled the sky. On the battlefield, those who trespass will die. The sound of the soul resounded, and the waterfall and the sand exploded at the same time. Countless water dragons flew out and rushed towards Lin Mohan. The supreme above the rainbow exudes a powerful aura. Like the supreme Xingping, he has no head and is a headless supreme. He is clothed in rainbow rays, his momentum is soaring to the sky, and he controls the water dragon and salon. About there. Lin Mohan felt that he had found the source while dodging, and his heart moved, and the hell of bones emerged. After skeleton hell merged into the world of rules, he was nourished by the power of the source, making his experience of virtuality and reality even more powerful. The skeleton hell at this time is much more powerful than before. Although it is impossible to deal with the supreme, under the supreme, even half-step supreme, once swallowed by the bone hell, there is no way to escape. The skeleton hell does not reject anyone who comes, and swallows all the water dragon salons that rush towards it. Lin Mohan was getting closer and closer to the waterfall. Standing on the rainbow, the supreme being was obviously angry. He reached out and grabbed the rainbow directly in his hand. Death to trespassers. Amidst the roar, Kai Zili, Waterfall, and Huangsha were killed at the same time. The 3 merged into one and turned into a colorful dragon that rushed towards Lin Mohan. Lin Mohan felt the three rules of water, earth, and starlight from the dragon. The colorful dragon collided with the bone hill, and a big hole was immediately knocked out of the bone hill. This colorful dragon has reached the supreme realm and is extremely powerful. Commander-in-Chief number 1 rushed out with the war realm, and the laws of bones gathered into a sea, evolved into a knife, and slashed towards the colorful dragon. The dragon and the sword collided together and were blown away. In terms of strength, the bone battle formation is still superior. The Supreme Being was obviously even more angry. He roared, and with a strong fist, he grabbed a lot of rainbows in his hands. The rainbow explodes and evolves into a large number of colorful dragons together with the water and sand, killing shit again. Lin Mohan has already seen that this supreme magic weapon is the rainbow. The Supreme roared again and again, the sound of the soul resounded throughout the world, and the rainbow transformed into tens of thousands of divine dragons, besieging the bone battle formation. For a moment, Lin Mohan couldn't tell who was fighting in the group. Control the divine dragon and form an army with one man, no wonder you don't need any legion. Not all Supremes have legions. Some Supremes have spells and magic weapons that are more suitable for fighting alone. They formed an army by themselves and had unparalleled combat experience. This is the case for the Rainbow Supreme in front of him. He has evolved more than 10,000 divine dragons, and the combat power of each divine dragon is comparable to that of the Supreme. With such a Supreme Being, there is no need for any legion. The Xingping army was in front of him, which was just like chickens and dogs. An existence like the Mountain Forest Supreme is simply vulnerable. The first legion of the undead was besieged by Shenlong and was completely at a disadvantage and could only barely hold on. Lin Mohan whispered, "You should have been a great supreme being when you were alive. Although I can't appreciate your glory at your peak, I am honored to be able to play against you. This junior is very honored. It's a pity that junior has something to do. I'm sorry." Lin Mohan slightly saluted Rainbow Supreme, and the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th legions took action at the same time. The 5 undead legions are equivalent to 5 supreme beings. They attack at the same time, defeat the dragon, and kill the Rainbow Supreme. Rainbow Supreme held the rainbow in his hand while roaring, turned it into a whip and whipped it. The space is broken and stimulated. The 2nd Undead Legion, which bore the brunt of the attack, was knocked to pieces on the spot, and the White Bone Lost RC was torn into pieces. At this time, Commander number 2 was as fierce as cutting out, and he evolved into the Undead Commander. His former command skills were still retained, and he was stronger than before. A fatal blow. Gathering the power of millions of Saint-level skeleton generals, Commander number 2 struck a fatal blow. This attack is not much worse than the attack of the bone battle formation. The rainbow magic weapon was struck and shattered on the spot. At this time, several other undead legions had already reached Rainbow Supreme and attacked crazily. After all, it was not during his lifetime that Rainbow Supreme was a little dull and was killed in just a few strokes. After all, he is dead, even the magic weapon is a projection, and his strength is probably less than 30% of what he was before his death. Such a powerful supreme being would die in battle. The war back then must have been so cruel. Lin Mohan sighed softly and walked forward. When he crossed the hanging waterfall, he saw a tombstone above the waterfall. In front of Lin Mohan's tombstone, I saw the words engraved on the tombstone. The Tomb of Tianzi Supreme. Only then did Lin Mohan know the other party's name, Tianzi Supreme. After saluting in front of the tomb, Lin Mohan left. Lin Mohan was gone for a long time. The ruins are vast and the scenery is diverse. Every scenery exudes the vastness of ancient times. Lin Mohan even doubts whether these scenery are the scenery of ancient times. Since the beginning, I met the Xingping Supreme, and then I met the Tianzi Supreme, and then I never met another Supreme. The ruins of the meteorite are not as dangerous as imagined. The Holy Lord who fell inside must have died in the hands of Supreme Lord Xingping. After walking for a long time, suddenly a chilling air hit my face. Lin Mohan saw a city from a distance. The moment he saw the city, Lin Mohan couldn't help but tremble. This city exudes a shocking aura, chilling and bloody. Lin Mohan is hundreds of millions of miles apart, and everyone feels frightened. If he were a god in the other shore realm, in this position, his soul would be washed away by the aura of this city. The so-called god of War Fortress is really far behind compared to it. Even compared with it, the divine city is inferior in terms of momentum and scale. What a powerful city! In amazement, Lin Mohan saw a dark cloud covering the city. There were lightning and thunder in this dark cloud, exuding a strong murderous intent. It seems that there are endless ghosts of grievances crying and howling inside, which is very terrifying. The dark clouds are in sharp contrast to the majestic city, and there is a great contrast. Whether the holy city is a replica of it, but the gap between the two seems to be quite big. If there is such a city, there is no need to worry about the Dojia. Even if the Dojia has the pinnacle supreme, there is no need to worry. Lin Mohan felt that the majestic city in front of him was enough to compete with the supreme being. He wondered if he could get the city back. Suddenly, a creepy feeling came from deep in his soul. He was being watched. In the dark clouds over the city, a human figure appeared, staring at Lin Mohan. Money. Lin Mohan suddenly felt danger and stared at his avatar, which was threatening to him. When the dark clouds rolled, a group of people flew out of the city and rushed towards Lin Mohan. This team is not large in number, only 100 people. The person leading the team at the front is a supreme, and the people behind are all half-step supremes. The team was like lightning, crossing hundreds of millions of miles and arriving in front of Lin Mohan in the blink of an eye. Lin Mohan did not dodge. He felt that the team coming over had no killing intention towards him. The leader of the team clasped his fists towards Lin Mohan and said, "By order of the city lord, I invite you to enter the city." The voice is clear and the words are clear, accompanied by the powerful momentum of the supreme realm. Okay. Lin Mohan did not refuse. He knew that he could not capture the city. The best choice at the moment was to follow him into the city. The opponent is conscious and intelligent, and can only kill and fight. Just be aware and you can communicate. If possible, Lin Mohan doesn't want to fight them. The closer we get, the more extraordinary this city feels. Until I came to the city, I saw the name of the city. Soul City. This name is a bit weird. Lin Mohan thought to himself why he used this name. The name of any city will not be chosen randomly. Such a name must have its meaning. The city gate opened, and the murderous atmosphere became even stronger. It's not the intention to kill, but the intention to fight. The entire city is in a state of battle, as if it is ready for a war at any time. Entering the city and walking along the streets, there are no ordinary people in the city, they are all soldiers. The entire city is more like a huge military camp and a military city. The architecture of the city is somewhat similar to the city seen in the fingertip ruins, and the divine city is also somewhat similar to it. Lin Mohan feels that the divine city is imitating this soul city. Lin Mohan felt the atmosphere in Soul City and felt something was wrong more and more. Finally, he quietly opened his vision of the undead. In an instant, he saw countless soul fires burning. Lin Mohan was shocked. The soul fire he saw in front of him was completely different from what he usually saw. Every building in the city, every sergeant, and every cultivator is a ball of soul fire. They have no entity, and everything seen by all eyes is composed of soul fire. Especially the dark clouds covering the city, which also contain countless souls. They are all dead, only their souls remain. Previously, Supreme Xingping and Supreme Tianzi had only physical bodies and no souls. Advertisement. And here, there is only a soul, no body. What is going on? Lin Mohan was a little confused and couldn't figure it out for a while. At this time, several eyes fell on him, and the Supreme Lord beside him shouted softly, "Take your eyes away." Lin Mohan immediately put away his eyes of the undead, knowing that he had been discovered. Fortunately, the other party only warned and did not take action directly. The power of this city has exceeded my imagination. After entering the city, I saw more than 10 supreme beings. These supreme beings patrolled the city with their teams. And I have only seen a very small part of Soul City. There are more areas that I have not seen, and there will only be more supreme. In a real fight, with my current strength, I have no confidence. Especially the dark clouds overhead, its existence gave Lin Mohan a strong sense of danger. After walking in the city for half a day, the group finally came to a pagoda. The pagoda seemed to appear suddenly. Before that, Mohan had never seen the pagoda. The pagoda shot straight into the night sky, connecting with the dark clouds in the sky. Lightning and thunder kept falling on the pagoda from the dark clouds, and the pagoda also flashed with lightning. But these thunder and lightning gave Lin Mohan a gloomy feeling. It's not Lei, it's Yong. Thunder and lightning composed of imaginary power. Feeling the power of the void, Lin Mohan was not surprised. There are so many supreme beings in Soul City, and their city lord must be stronger, at least the pinnacle supreme one, and maybe even a heavenly one. There is nothing strange about beings at this level using the power of the void. The team stopped in front of the pagoda, and the leader of the team saluted towards the pagoda, informed the city lord that people have been brought here. The pagoda buzzed, the door opened, and at the same time a voice came out, "You guys, please step back." Yes. The leader of the team resigned without any hesitation. Lin Mohan heard the city lord's voice and thought to himself, it's a woman. Listening to the voice of the city lord, she is a woman. There is majesty in her voice, and she has obviously been in a high position for a long time. The city lord's voice sounded in Lin Mohan's ears again, "Come in." Lin Mohan did not hesitate. It was now, how could he not go in? And he also wanted to see whether the city lord was the pinnacle supreme or the heavenly master. Striding into the pagoda, the interior of the pagoda is bright and exquisite. On a throne in the center, a woman wearing battle armor is sitting. Needless to say, she is the Lord of Soul City. The city lord looked at Lin Mohan with extraordinary heroic appearance and lightning-like eyes. At this moment, Lin Mohan felt that the other person was not a soul, but a living strong man. There was no strong pressure, but Lin Mohan could feel that it would not be difficult for the other party to kill him. Lin Mohan saluted to the other party, "Junior Lin Mohan, I have met my senior." Although the other party has long since died, it is enough for him to call his senior. The Lord of Soul City said in a clear voice, "There are 2 reasons for allowing you to come in. First, you own the soul-killing sword of the Soul Sword sect. The soul-slaying sword is the inheritance of our Sword sect. If you get it, it means that you are the inheritor of our Soul Sword sect." Lin Mohan suddenly realized, no wonder it was called Soul City. It turned out that the owner of Soul City was also a member of the Soul Sword sect. And because he was carrying the soul-killing sword, she looked at him differently and allowed him to enter the city. Lin Mohan said with a hint of apology, "I feel ashamed to say that since I obtained the soul-killing sword, I have never been able to find a suitable candidate to continue the Soul Sword sect's legacy." Originally, he wanted to hand over the inheritance of the Soul Sword sect to his elder sister, but unfortunately, the inheritance of the bloodline awakening of the elder sister was too strong, and even the inheritance of the Heaven and Earth Sword sect was looked down upon, let alone the slightly weaker Soul Sword sect. Later, because I was too busy, I never had time to find a suitable candidate to inherit the Soul Sword sect's inheritance, so the matter fell through. The city owner didn't mean to blame Lin Mohan. It doesn't matter, as long as you look for it, you will find it. The second reason is that because you have his aura on you, you should be the person, he said. But this has yet to be confirmed, and you need to prove it. Lin Mohan's heart skipped a beat. The man the city lord mentioned couldn't be the mysterious master. Could it be that this place is also a backup plan arranged by the mysterious owner? If this is the case, how many backups the mysterious master has left, one after another? This calculation ability is really terrifying. With this thought in his mind, he asked at the same time, "I wonder what kind of proof Senior needs." The city lord spit out 4 words, "Fire that burns the world." Sure enough, it has something to do with the mysterious master. Lin Mohan opened his palms, and a ball of gray flame rose from his palms. The flames were burning brightly. They looked like just a small ball, but they had something astonishing about them. The moment the flames appeared, the entire space was distorted and screams continued to be heard in the space. The entire Soul City is made up of souls, and souls have instinctive terror when faced with the world-burning fire. The city lord snorted softly, and an invisible force swept across the city. The city suddenly moved steadily. Lin Mohan also put away the world-burning fire at the same time. This was enough, and he didn't really want to burn them to death. And even if he detonates the world-burning fire, whether he can be burned to death is another question. The city lord said, "What he said is indeed correct. We did not wait so long in vain. Tell me, how is the situation outside? How is the development of the human race? Is the black blood world still there? What dangers will the world face this time?" The city lord's tone was somewhat relaxed, seeming to confirm Lin Mohan's identity and knowing that there was nothing wrong with the mysterious master's layout. She began to ask about the current situation in the big world. She had stayed in the ruins for so many years and knew nothing about the outside world. Lin Mohan roughly told what he knew, and at the same time asked the city lord what happened back then and why they stayed in this way until now. During the conversation, Lin Mohan finally knew the identity of the other party. The daughter of the leader of the Soul Sword sect and the former eldest princess of the Soul Sword sect, Mohan. When the ancient war began, the leader of the Soul Sword sect went to war with his sect until he died in the battle and was buried in a foreign land. There is no Tianzuan in the Soul Sword sect. The strongest person is the sect leader. His realm is the pinnacle supreme, and he is not much different from the Tianzuan. If the war breaks out in another 1,000 years, maybe he can become a heavenly lord. Once he becomes a heavenly lord, he may not necessarily die in the battle. At that time, Mohan was just an ordinary supreme. After her father died in battle, she inherited the position of the leader of the Soul Sword sect and continued to fight with the remaining strength of the Soul Sword sect. Later, Mohan's realm reached its peak and supreme level. At the end of the war, Mohan was seriously injured in a battle and was on the verge of death. Mohan felt unwilling because she failed to fight to the end and kill all the people in the Black Blood realm. After Mohan died, a mysterious master appeared. The mysterious master restored Mohan's soul and temporarily resurrected her. Based on Mohan's identity at the time, she had only heard of the existence of the mysterious master, but had never seen it before. The mysterious master made a deal with her and gave her a magic weapon, which can store the soul. The soul is immortal, the body is immortal, and she is almost immortal. But the disadvantage is also the same: she will be trapped in the magic weapon and unable to leave. This magic weapon is a city. This city has a very wide range. Ever since Lin Mohan entered the ruins of the meteorite, he has actually set foot on the city. The city was named Soul City by Mohan. The mysterious master not only gave her the Soul City, but also gave her an army. This army, like her, was made up of supreme and holy beings who died on the battlefield. The army was taken into Soul City and became immortal from then on. She began to lead Soul City into battle. In the final years of the war, Soul City shined brilliantly, killing countless enemies. The existence of Soul City satisfied the unwillingness of Mohan and countless human warriors, allowing them to return to the battlefield without fear of life or death. But Mohan also had to pay a price. After the battle, Mohan took Soul City and fell into a deep sleep. She didn't know how long she would sleep. She only knew that she had to complete the tasks assigned by the mysterious master and complete the transaction. The mysterious master told her that someone would come here, bringing the inheritance of the Soul Sword sect and the world-burning fire. And the mysterious master also said that there may be a war in the future that requires his own action. She has been sleeping, and Soul City is also sleeping. Only some guards have been placed outside Soul City. The Xingping Legion is the outermost guard, followed by Tianzi Supreme. As long as someone passes these two levels, Soul City will revive. She slept for 1,000,000 years until Lin Mohan appeared and came here. This gives Lin Mohan the feeling that it is somewhat similar to Xiaowu in Yunwu sect. Xiaowu also spent 1,000,000 years in a deep sleep. The difference is that Moon knew that she had been sleeping for a long time, but Xiaowu didn't know at all. This is the difference in realm. Lin Mohan knew the cause and effect, and Moon also knew what happened in the world while she was sleeping. She didn't expect that when she was injured, the big world had already launched a black blood craze, hurting both the big world and the big world. She had not had a head-on collision with the black blood craze. When the black blood craze hit, the ones who went to deal with it were Tianzuan and the original beast, and she did not participate. The battles that followed after the Soul City was obtained were already at the end of the war. What she didn't even know later was that the origin of the world was damaged, which would lead to a series of events. Now listening to Lin Mohan's story, I know that the Black Blood world has been completely wiped out, but the world is about to face another disaster. The mysterious master made a deal with her and left this city to her just so that she could deal with the coming disaster. Moon said he even calculated what will happen 1,000,000 years from now. We only heard about his legend at that time, but we didn't expect him to be so powerful. Lin Mohan had long felt the power of the mysterious master and smiled. What were those legends like back then? Moon said, according to legend, he is the strongest being in the world, surpassing Tianzuan, and is known as the person closest to Tao Zun. But he is elusive. No one has seen him except a few deities. Even when I traded with him, I never saw his true face. Lin Mohan was a little confused. Since he is so powerful, why didn't he directly defeat the Black Blood realm back then? Moon tapped the throne lightly. I don't know. We can't predict the behavior of this kind of character. The behavior of the mysterious owner made Lin Mohan feel strange. Since he is so powerful and can quickly defeat the Black Blood world, why should he wait for the Great World to be destroyed before making plans to save the Great World? Perhaps, as Moon thought, if you don't reach that state, you can't understand it. Lin Mohan stopped thinking and asked, did he say anything else? Moon said, it's just a transaction between me and him. Do you think you have anything more to say? The implication is that nothing was said between the two. Moon continued, he pulled me back from the edge of death and gave me the Soul City so that I can use the Soul City to fight against all directions. I will also keep my promise and fight for the world again in 1,000,000 years. Moon spoke firmly and with a heroic spirit, with a strong fighting spirit in her eyes. Lin Mohan asked, how is the city's combat strength? Moon didn't hide anything. If Soul City is at full strength, it can fight against the Supreme Being. If there is a pinnacle among the enemies, just leave it to me to deal with it. Lin Mohan silently calculated in his mind, Moon can deal with a peak supreme, and Qing Long can also deal with one. According to the information currently known, there may be only one peak supreme in the fighting world. As long as there is no new peak supreme in the next 1,000 years, we have a great chance of winning. It seems that the remaining power of the Great World has been calculated by the mysterious master, and he even calculated that the Great World will meet the Dojie. What a terrifying existence, but he has not even become a Taoist. It seems that the road to becoming a Taoist is really difficult. Moon suddenly reached out and made a move, and a stone flew out from the pagoda. The stone quickly became smaller, and finally became only the size of a fist. Moon threw the smaller stone to Lin Mohan. I will come when the Dojie attacks. Lin Mohan put away the stone and turned to ask, Senior, I want to ask you something. Moon did not refuse. Let's talk about it. Lin Mohan asked, I want to know if any Tianzuan died in that battle. Moon thought for a while. I heard that Yu Tianzuan was seriously injured, but I don't know whether he died or not. But in that kind of battle, it's not impossible for Tianzuan to die in battle. Why are you asking this? Lin Mohan said, if Tianzuan really died in battle, I want to find the remains of Tianzuan. Moon sneered with a little disdain. Although you have good strength and can be regarded as a genius, it is very difficult for you to obtain the remains of Tianzuan. Even when I was alive, it would be difficult to obtain the remains of Tianzuan. Lin Mohan said, Holy Talisman Tianzuan once said something similar, and I just want to give it a try. If we can get the remains of Tianzuan, we may have complete confidence in the battle against the Dojie. Munana really didn't know where Tianzuan's remains were, and she didn't even know whether Tianzuan died in battle that year. She had only heard that one heavenly lord was severely injured. Lin Mohan combined the words of Xingfu Tianzuan and judged that Tianzuan should indeed die in battle. In fact, whether Munana knew it or not was of little importance to Lin Mohan. He will look for the remaining 4 ancient ruins. Lin Mohan asked again, Senior, do you know how many deities there were in the world back then, and what were their names? Without thinking, Munana said, there are 8 heavenly lords in total, namely the Huanwu Heavenly Lord, the Time Heavenly Lord, the Space Heavenly Lord, the Destiny Heavenly Lord, the Holy Talisman Heavenly Lord, the Soul Heavenly Lord, the Divine Sword Lord, and the Giant Calendar Heavenly Lord. They separated. Munana told what she knew. Although she had died, her memory was not messy at all after her soul was resurrected. After sleeping for 2 million years, he still remembers the past very clearly. The name of each deity can actually represent the great path they have understood. Huanwu Tianzuan understands the way of cause and effect. The way of cause and effect is as illusory as fog, ethereal and elusive. The cause and effect relationship in the big world was also the first discovered by Huanyu Tianzuan. The Heavenly Lord of Time, Sky and Space understands the way of time and space. Their combat prowess is also one of the best among several heavenly lords. The God of Destiny can see the river of destiny, peek into the past and future, and even change the destiny of someone or a group. The Holy Talisman Heavenly Lord has many methods, and his runes are ever-changing. Ancient talismans, talisman arrays, ancient talisman warriors, and various methods played a very powerful role in the battle against the Black Blood world. Munana didn't know much about the Soul Heavenly Lord. This Heavenly Lord acted somewhat mysteriously. Among all the Tianzuan, the one with the biggest companionship is the Divine Sword Tianzuan. Divine Sword Tianzuan is the sect leader of the Heaven and Earth Sword sect, who is the co-master of all sword cultivators. Divine Sword Tianzuan is also the #1 sword cultivator in the world. His sword is extremely sharp and can cut through time and space. Even the Time Heavenly Lord and the Space Heavenly Lord will retreat in front of his sword. Finally, there is Julie Tianzuan. Julie Tianzuan walks on the path of strength. It is said that he can defeat 10 levels with one force, and he can break through anything with one punch. The same is true for Julie Tianzuan's character. He is straightforward, and no matter what he encounters, he will solve it with one punch. In the battle that year, the Tianzuan who was injured was the Julie Tianzuan. It is said that he was too confident and mistakenly fell into a trap set by the Black Blood realm, and was besieged by powerful men from the Black Blood realm. With one enemy against many, Julie Tianzuan killed 2 of them, but he was also seriously injured. Lin Mohan listened to Munana's narration, thinking in his mind, and responded. Needless to say, Huanwu Tianzuan and Xingfu Tianzuan have left the big world. The Space God and the Time God should also leave. Destiny Lord was caught by the Mysterious Master and saw a lot of things in the future. The Mysterious Master had to make various arrangements and would definitely not let Destiny Lord leave easily. However, the war was over by then, indicating that Destiny Lord was not dead, and he probably left later. The Soul God is elusive and mysterious. The Star Sky Spirit Tribe and the Ghost Tribe were both created by him. In addition, there is also the Starry Sky Demon Clan that has disappeared in the long river of history. No one stipulates that Tianzuan can only create one race. On the road to seeking Tao, each Tianzuan takes a different path. Perhaps Soul Heavenly Lord is taking the path of creating living beings. Holy Talisman Heavenly Lord also wanted to take this path, but unfortunately he did not succeed. Lin Mohan feels that his guess is very likely. Except for the Soul Heavenly Lord, none of the other Heavenly Lords seem to take a similar path. Divine Sword God uses swords to prove the Tao. He has been obsessed with swords all his life and only practices the way of swordsmanship. Divine Sword Tianzuan should also have left. If he died in battle, Tiandi Jian would definitely know. Apart from this, there was no one else. Julie Tianzuan became the one most likely to die in battle. Munaner did not disturb Lin Moyu's thinking. She waited until Lin Moyu woke up and said, "What did you think of?" Lin Moyu said, "If any Tianzuan really died in battle, it should be Julie Tianzuan." Lin Moyu explained his analysis, and Munaner thought it made sense. Munaner said, "If Julie Tianzuan really died in battle, it should be outside the territory." During the war that year, Julie Tianzuan rushed to the front. His battlefield was outside the territory. Even if he was injured, he would not retreat due to his character. Lin Moyu nodded. "Thank you, Senior. I have one more thing to trouble you about, Senior." Munaner didn't find Lin Moyu annoying. "You tell me." Lin Moyu said, "There is a dragon ball that fell in Seoul City. I wonder if I can help the junior to find it." Munaner said, "Let me take a look." Munaner closed her eyes and searched. She was now the master of Seoul City, and the entire Seoul City was under her control. Even if there is a speck of dust in Seoul City, she can find it if she wants to. Soon Munaner got the result, found it. With a movement in her heart, the space distorted and changed, and the dragon ball instantly traveled through the space and fell into her hand. Munaner looked at the dragon beads. "It's really interesting. How could a dragon ball fall into the Seoul City?" Lin Moyu said, "I don't know either, but that unlucky dragon had 5 dragon balls that fell into the big world, 3 of which were outside the territory, and 2 of which were outside the territory. I have helped retrieve 2 of them. This is the last one in the territory. As for the ones outside the territory, it depends on luck whether you can find them." Munaner casually threw the dragon ball to Lin Moyu. "You have done a good job. Building a good relationship with the Dragon Clan will be beneficial to you and the world." Lin Moyu asked, "Senior, do you know why the Dragon Clan came to our world?" Munaner shook her head. "I don't know. I have never really come into contact with the Dragon Clan. I only know that they come from outside the world and are very powerful. Even the Heavenly Lord must be polite to them. Lin Moyu already knows this, knows how to do it." At the junction, the gate of space begins, and Lin Moyu flies out of the gate. After identifying the direction, Lin Moyu opened the door to space again and flew towards the area where Tianlong was. This trip was considered a success. Although Tianzuan's body was not found, at least the Dragon Ball was recovered. Moreover, there is also Munaner's Seoul City, which will have another top-notch combat power in the future battle with the Dojie. Munaner brought the Seoul City with her, and her combat power was comparable to that of the Peak Supreme. Moreover, the Supremes in the Seoul City were immortal, and in some respects were even more powerful than the Peak Supreme. Coming out of the space gate again, we were very close to the area where Tianlong was. Lin Moyu keenly felt that there were a few more powerful auras beside Tianlong. 2.1 These auras spread wantonly in the starry sky, covering hundreds of millions of miles of starry sky, and are so powerful that it is suffocating. Supreme. Supreme of the Dragon Clan. What are they doing here? Lin Moyu's heart moved and he drew the runes. This time he drew an ancient talisman of virtual concealment, which was a higher level than the concealment talisman. Even the Supreme could not even think of discovering it. However, the requirements for the Void Hidden Talisman are very high and require the power of virtual reality, which is difficult for ordinary Supreme beings to draw. Although Lin Moyu is only a holy master, he already has the power of virtuality and reality, and there is no problem in drawing the virtual and hidden ancient pestle. Only half a minute later, the Shuin ancient talisman was successfully drawn and activated on the spot. Lin Moyu's figure gradually faded and completely disappeared into the starry sky. Lin Moyu feels that he is not hiding in the starry sky, but incarnate in the starry sky. This starry sky is myself, and I am the starry sky. From the body to the soul, it is completely emptied, and the breath completely disappears. In this state, the correct one can discover. Chapter 2299 3 Dragon Balls, 3 Things. The advantage of the virtual invisible ancient talisman is that it becomes invisible, but the disadvantage is that in this state, the speed will be greatly reduced, and the laws of space cannot be used. Lin Mohan spent a lot of time before arriving near Tianlong. Tianlong was talking to a supreme-level divine dragon, while Holy Light stayed aside and said nothing. The status is clear at a glance. After Tianlong got back the 2 Dragon Balls, after years of recovery, his realm has returned to the Supreme Realm. Even if he has not recovered to the Supreme Realm, Tianlong still belongs to the Divine Dragon, and his status still exceeds that of the Holy Light. The Holy Light is still the Holy Dragon. Although the transformation is about to be completed, it is still not close. The hierarchy in the Dragon Clan is so strict that you can barely do it. To put it bluntly, Xingguang is not even qualified to talk to Tianlong. Before, Xingguang was the leader of the clan, and Tuan Xiaomi had a few words with Tianlong. This time it was obviously an elder who came in person, and he could only listen to what was said. Tianlong, don't be stubborn and come back with me. The voice of the Supreme Realm Shenlong was low, and it sounded impatient. Tianlong sneered. I said, I won't go back. You put me here and took away my Dragon Ball, and now you want me to go back so easily? No way. Brother, go back and tell those old guys that even if I, Tianlong, come back one day, I won't go back like this. Picture. Only then did Lin Mohan realize that the bandit's Dr. Peng was the one who hated Peng. Tianlong's eldest brother roared low, and the dragon's roar echoed in the starry sky. Then how do you want to go back? The elders have already said that you will not be blamed, and the dragon beads will compensate you. This world will be destroyed in another 1,000 years. Your Dragon Ball will also appear by then. You know the abilities of the elders. They can help you find it. Tianlong also let out a dragon roar and laughed loudly. No need, I will find my Dragon Ball myself without bothering the doctors. And those old guys should take care of themselves. I'm afraid they won't live long. Tianlong's eldest brother gasped and roared, You know what you are talking about. Tianlong laughed loudly, Am I talking nonsense? Elders, don't they know? The eldest prince is coming out soon. What will happen to the Dragon Clan when he comes out? Do you think those elders can still sit still? Let me tell you, let alone those immortals, even their descendants will have their blood and souls drained one by one. Brother, since you are my eldest brother, I advise you to stand in line as soon as possible. Don't stand in the wrong line when the time comes. Brother, I can't protect you. When Lin Mohan heard this, he stared at the master in his heart. The eldest prince. Is the eldest prince mentioned by Tianlong and Antares? Could it be that Antares is the eldest prince of the Dragon Clan, so why would he be trapped in this small world? What happened in the meantime? Antares seemed to have a grudge against the elders of the Dragon Clan. He thought of what Antares had said, that when he came out, he would accompany him to kill the Dragon Clan and stain the sky with dragon blood. At that time, Antares also told himself not to be too weak and not to embarrass himself. Now it seems that I am really too weak. The strong in Antares' eyes is probably not the Holy Lord, nor the Supreme Lord, but at least the Heavenly Lord. Tianlong is the Supreme, his brother is also the Supreme, the elders are stronger, Shi Wang has 8 or 9 who are the Supreme. If Antares wants to kill them, he must at least have the combat power of the Heavenly Lord realm. Lin Mohan realized that he had heard something amazing. After listening to Tianlong's words, Brother Yin fell silent. The holy light on the side is even more silent and seems to be trembling. The dragon scales on his body were shaking at an alarming speed, and he didn't know what he was thinking. The reaction of the 2 dragons was undoubtedly telling Lin Mohan that Antares was terrifying and they did not dare to hide at all. Tianlong suddenly laughed loudly. Brother, you are not afraid, are you? In fact, you don't have to be afraid, you were not involved in what happened back then. What we should really be afraid of are the elders. The elders have indeed lived enough, but what about their descendants? I'm afraid those elders didn't expect retribution to come so quickly. Time flows very fast in this world, thousands of times faster than that of the craftsman sea. Has 10,000 years here, only 1 year among the dragon clan. Those elders have lived happily for a few years, and retribution will come soon. Tianlong laughed more and more crazily, but his eldest brother became more and more silent. To read exciting novels, go to Feilu Novel Network. His eldest brother left amid laughter, taking the holy light with him. After they walked away, Tianlong suddenly said, "Boy Lin, come out." Lin Moyu was stunned for a moment, and Zhan Yin was suddenly discovered. Even Tianlong's eldest brother didn't notice him, but Tianlong actually found him. It shows that Tianlong is stronger than his elder brother, and much stronger. Lin Moyu removed the Shuyin ancient talisman and appeared in front of Tianlong. Lin Moyu has met the senior. Tianlong was about to say something, but suddenly his eyes lit up. Dragon Ball. Lin Moyu took out the Dragon Ball and blocked Tianlong's. 3 Kingdoms. 35. With the Dragon Ball in hand, I won't say anything else. This was indeed the case. Tianlong didn't mention Lin Moyu's eavesdropping at all, and his eyes softened. Lin Moyu became extremely pleasing to his eyes. Young man Lin, that's right. That's right. Let's forget about the eavesdropping just now. But don't ask. I won't tell you if you ask. Lin Moyu naturally understood this truth, smiled slightly, and threw the Dragon Ball to Tianping. After absorbing the 3rd Dragon Ball, Tianlong let out bursts of dragon roars, and his aura increased rapidly. Lin Moyu felt that his aura was already comparable to those of powerful supreme beings. If he could get back the remaining 2 Dragon Balls, he would be able to do so. Tianlong laughed loudly. It wasn't before, but it will be in the future. Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask, "Were you a Tianzuan before?" Lin Moyu didn't understand the meaning of this sentence, but it wasn't important. He didn't come here for this. He opened his mouth and said, "What you promised me before is now. Can you do it now?" Tianlong laughed and said, "Of course there is no problem. They are just some alien starry sky beasts. I will give them to you. And I promise you that I can take action for you once. Aren't they just those guys from Dojie? Just come and I will blow them to death with my dragon breath." He talked big words, but Lin Moyu didn't argue with him. As long as he is willing to take action when the time comes, with the Dragon Clan's secret method, Tianlong can at least withstand a peak supreme. Tianlong gave Lin Moyu a dragon scale. As long as Lin Moyu activates the dragon scale, he will come as soon as possible. Heavy. Lin Moyu found 3 Dragon Balls for him and exchanged them for 3 pieces. The first is to block the border areas. The second is to take action for yourself. The third is to give away all the starry sky behemoths in the borderland that are not native to the big world. The bone hell has long been hungry. Although the cause and effect between these giant beasts in the starry sky and the big world is not serious, there are more or less. Cleaning them all up is a good thing for the world, and it can also feed the hell of bones. Why not do it? Tianlong let out a dragon roar, which turned into the sound of soul and spread throughout the border area. Lin Moyu didn't know how he did it, at least he couldn't do it himself. Understand. It can only be said that the secret method of the Dragon Clan is too magical and cannot be mastered by myself. One day later, Tianlong spoke again. "Okay, all the starry sky beasts native to the big world have left the border area. You can go ahead and kill them." Lin Moyu nodded. "Thank you very much." The hell of bones emerged and flew towards the depths of the starry sky. There was not a single living thing wherever it passed. After Lin Moyu was promoted to saint and the bone hell merged into the world of rules, he became stronger again. The essence has not changed, the combat power has been slightly strengthened, and the range has expanded from 0.2 light-years to 0.3 light-years. The bone hell is its own system. Its essence still requires devouring living beings. Only by devouring living beings can it become stronger. Improving its realm has little effect on it. The bone hell turned into a thin mist and swept back and forth in the border area. Before those starry sky beasts could react, they were already swallowed up by the bone hell. Regardless of whether it is the god or the other side, the result is the same. In the end, they can only become nourishment for the hell of bones. The border area is huge, and cleaning it cannot be completed overnight. Lin Mohan was not in a hurry, knowing that this group was willing to commit suicide. He plans to spend decades dedicated to cleaning up the border area. At this time, outside the human star field, the dark void in all directions is also being purified, and Xuanwu is very busy, non-stop. After the war, the planetary resources obtained by the human race also need time to be transformed before they can become a planet suitable for human beings to survive. Everything seems to be going in an orderly manner. Lin Mohan stood in the void at the junction and could clearly feel that the aura of Tianlong was increasing day by day. After getting the third Dragon Ball, his strength entered the recovery period again. When the Dragon Ball is completely absorbed, it is estimated that Wang will not be too far away from Yanlong Supreme. Lin Mohan began to understand what Tianlong said. He was not Tianzuan once, but he will be in the future. When he came to the big world and the Dragon Ball was taken away, he was not a heavenly lord. Maybe his strength at that time was at the peak of the Supreme Being. The capture of the Dragon Ball caused his strength to plummet. He has also been practicing over the years, and Oli has strengthened. After all the Dragon Balls are retrieved, his strength will be able to break through before and truly become a heavenly lord. Breaking and then standing up refers to Tianlong. From here to there, it is not difficult to imagine the strength of Antares. In the blink of an eye, 10 years later, a large area of the borderland was finally cleared. The big world once plundered worlds one after another, and the starry sky beasts from all the worlds gathered in the big world. Most of them are in the borderland. In the past 10 years, the bone hell has swallowed up countless starry sky beasts. During the devouring process, the bone hell gradually becomes stronger, and the most intuitive change is the scope. In 10 years, the diameter of the bone hell has increased from 0.3 light-years to 0.6 light-years. The diameter doubled, and the covered range doubled several times. The larger area also speeds up the cleaning process. Lin Mohan roughly estimated that if the skeleton hell could continue to grow at this rate, the cleanup speed would also be accelerated. In another 20 years, the border area will basically be cleared. A faint light lit up from a distance and came to Lin Mohan in an instant. The glimmer of light turned into a flying sword talisman, bringing the latest news from the human race. Lin Mohan made an agreement with the emperor to inform him immediately of any changes in the doctor's condition. After that, every few years, there will be news sent by the flying sword talisman. Lin Mohan smiled slightly after reading the news. 3 places in the dark void in all directions have been purified, and Xuanwu is purifying the last one. Xuanwu's purification is not just pure purification. All the starry beasts in the dark void were cleaned up by Xuanwu. Those giant beasts in the starry sky have been polluted by the dark void all year round, and in Xuanwu's eyes, there is no need to exist anymore. As the original beast, everything is for the sake of the big world, and all creatures that are not native to the world will be looked down upon by them. Although the origin beasts are intelligent, they also have innate instincts. Sometimes it is difficult for wisdom to overpower instinct. This is their shortcoming. Lin Mohan sighed in his heart. The traces of the war back then are being gradually erased. History will be lost to time sooner or later, no matter how difficult it is to be discovered. I hope that the years of the big world can continue to move forward and will not be cut off one day. He looked into the distance and saw broken divine roads. This is the real scar of the world, a scar that is difficult to erase. I hope one day I can heal all these injuries without leaving scars. Lin Mohan muttered to himself, then turned around and continued to clean up the sleeping area of Tu School. Another 10 years later, Lin Mohan received the news that the last piece of dark void had been purified. From then on, all traces of the black blood world left in the big world were cleared away. According to Feijian Fuzhong, Xuanwu roared with extreme excitement at that time, and the roar lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and most of the human race heard his voice. Trace. Then Xuanwu turned into a stream of light and disappeared without a trace. Judging from the direction, it should be heading outside the territory. Suzaku and White Tiger were also outside the territory at this time. Together with Xuanwu, 3 of the 4 original beasts had already gone outside the territory. Only Qinglong continued to sleep. Lin Moyu knew that they wanted to find the source of power outside the territory. In the war that year, the origins of the Great World were damaged, and some origins were scattered outside the territory. Moreover, there are not only fragments of the Great World's own origin outside the territory, but also some things that rushed in from the Boundary Sea. Although the probability is low, they plan to search hard and maybe they can find something. After Lin Moyu cleans up the border area, he will also go outside the territory. I got some information from Munaner and found out that where Julie Tianzuan once fought, there happened to be an ancient ruins called Shattering. If Julie Tianzuan really fell, it would most likely be there. The bone hell is still growing, and its diameter has reached 0.8 light years. Lin Moyu felt that when the diameter reached 1 hour, it would be the time of transformation and promotion of the skeleton hell. By then the skeleton hell will reach the Saint Realm, and its history will be greatly increased again. Time passed year by year, and in the next 10 years, no more flying sword talismans came from the human race. It means that everything is business as usual in the human race and nothing happens. No news is the best news, Lin Moyu replied, just do your own thing with peace of mind. 10 years later, the starry sky beasts in the borderland were finally cleared away. The diameter of the skeleton hell has reached as high as 1 light year, covering a large area of stars. But it didn't get promoted, it was still Higan Takashi. Increase. The hellish evil spirits inside still only have tens of billions, and there is no. Lin Moyu could feel that the bone hell had reached its bottleneck and was only a hair away from being promoted. Prosperous. But this is just a hint that proves that the Hell of Bones cannot truly live there. Lin Moyu thought about it. It should be because of the lack of original power. The Bone Hell has its own system and is different from other spells. Previously, he integrated the power of reality and reality into the Hell of Bones, Zhao Nuheo, which enhanced the nature of the Hell of Bones and changed its nature. The power of the Bone Hell has far exceeded imagination, and being invincible in the same realm is not just a casual comment. There is no spell in the other side realm that can trap and kill the Supreme Being even half a step away. The Hell of Bones can do that. But the more powerful the spell, the bottleneck is equally powerful, and it is very difficult to promote it. Lin Moyu felt that maybe the Hell of Bones needed a copy. Only with the power of the source can you be promoted. The original power is not Chinese cabbage, you can get it if you want it. Lin Moyu tried to communicate with Shinjo Ding to see if it could give him some source of power. As a result, Shinjo Ding ignored him at all and showed no help. Lin Moyu had no temper for this magic weapon. Over the years, he has tried many ways to communicate with Shinjo Ding, but to no avail. The divine cauldron was in his soul and was not under his control. Lin Moyu could only express his helplessness. Just when Lin Moyu felt helpless, Tianlong's voice sounded in his ears, "Come here." Chapter 2301 There is no free lunch in the world. As the master of the borderland, Tianlong uses the dragon secret method to gain insight into the entire borderland. Everything Lin Moyu did in the past 30 years was seen by Tianlong. He witnessed the growth of the bone hell with his own eyes, from 0.3 light years to 1 light year, and also saw the bone hell enter a bottleneck. Lin Moyu returned to Tianlong and said, "Senior, what are you doing?" Tianlong said, "Use that technique of yours on me." Lin Moyu was stunned for a moment. "What do you want to do, senior?" Tianlong seemed a little impatient. "I want to experience it, don't you? Just use it if you want. Why is there so much nonsense?" Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Okay, then get ready." "Get ready, come on. It's just a spell from the other side." Do you still want to hurt me? Tianlong shouted, not caring. Lin Moyu chuckled, and the hell of bones had flown out, covering Yin Pang. Countless hellish evil spirits pounced on Tianlong and opened their mouths to bite him. 10 fireballs in the sky, like scorching suns, sprayed out countless hellfires, which also fell on Tianlong and burned fiercely. Tianlong's whole body shimmered with light, and there was a faint sound of dragon roar. Each dragon scale burst out with powerful force, forming a protection to block the evil spirits of hell. The evil spirit of hell bites everything, biting into pieces the Tianlong's defense. It's just that Tianlong is the supreme, his defense power is very strong, and the level is completely different. It is very difficult for the hell spirit to bite, but the most shocking thing is that the hell spirit actually bites the ball. As long as 750 gives the hell spirit enough time, it can chew Tianlong's defense into pieces and really hurt Tianlong. It is simply unimaginable that the power of the other shore realm can crush the defense of the supreme realm. Tianlong also showed surprise in his eyes. There was a huge difference between seeing the hell of bones and experiencing it personally. It tried to weaken one of the defenses so that the evil spirit from hell could bite it directly. The dragon scale's defense is stronger, even the same supreme being can't break through it. But after the hell spirit bit him a dozen times in a row, a child Ripuan appeared on the surface of Panglin. Tianlong's eyes widened, as if to say, can this be chewed into pieces? This is the fact. His dragon scales in the supreme realm were bitten into cracks by the evil spirits from hell in the other realm. As long as he bites it for a while longer, he will be able to crush it. Not only the evil spirits of hell, Tianlong also felt the power of hellfire. His defenses could not completely block out the hellfire, which seeped in and was burning himself. It's just that its effect is not as powerful as the evil spirit from hell. At this time, the flower on the other side bloomed, spreading out bursts of blue light. Under the light, Tianlong felt that his strength was suddenly reduced by 30%. The defense is greatly weakened, and the evil spirits from hell bite more happily. Enough! Tianlong called for a stop, and Lin Moyu immediately put away the hell of bones. Before Lin Moyu could speak, Tianlong shouted, "Don't say anything before you go, let me think about it." Lin Moyu said nothing, watching Tianlong close his eyes and thinking, she didn't know what this guy was thinking. Tianlong murmured to himself while thinking, this technique of yours is very strange. Even I have never seen the laws in it. Lin Moyu secretly laughed in his heart. Of course it was strange. The Bone Hell was formed by the fusion of 4 spells, and then combined with the power of virtuality and reality, and finally integrated into the world of rules. The magic method has its own system, and the non-scriptures and the obstacles of one's own household are free of causes. This technique is not strange, that is what is truly strange. Tianlong said, your magic has nothing to do with your realm. It needs to improve itself. If you want it to be promoted, quantity alone is no longer enough, you also need quality. I think if you can make it swallow a world of supreme rules, or a piece of original power, you might be able to promote it. Lin Moyu felt that the skeleton hell might need a source of power. The Supreme Rules world had source power, and the two were actually the same. Tianlong said this, but he didn't say that the original power is hard to find, and the rules of Tu Zun are equally hard to find. Even if you find it, can you let it be eaten by you? Lin Moyu secretly thought in his heart, if I had known better, I should have left a few more world crystals, and maybe I could have promoted the skeleton hell. If you don't want to look for any other rule worlds left, look for 8 world crystals. Thinking this in his heart, he said, I also know that, but neither the original power nor the complete world of rules can be found just by looking for it. I plan to try my luck outside the territory to see if I can find the original power. The two effects should be about the same. Tianlong laughed and said, you don't have it, I don't have it. Lin Moyu's eyes lit up, Senior, what do you mean? Tianlong chuckled, spitting out a piece of origin crystal from his mouth, and for a while, the rich power of origin spread in the starry sky. Lin Moyu's eyes were shining, if you have any request, just grant it. There is no free lunch in the world. Lin Mohan knew that Tianlong must have conditions for doing this. Tianlong was a bit honest. Although I like trading, not everything needs to be traded. I like you and feel that you keep your promise, so I decided to give you the crystal of the source of pleasure. Of course, if you come across my Dragon Ball when you are outside the territory, remember to bring it back. Lin Mohan understood what Tianlong meant. Their agreement was 1 Dragon Ball. The 3 Dragon Balls have been exchanged for 3 things before. Now Tianlong is equivalent to advancing his own remuneration, and of course Tianlong will not do loss-making business. If you can't find the 4th Dragon Ball, don't let him take action when Dojia comes. Tianlong did this and established a rule to let his independent wife outside the territory find the Dragon Ball. Lin Mohan was a little strange. Why don't you go outside the territory yourself? There should be no one in this world who can restrict you. Tianlong glanced at Lin Mohan and said, why didn't Antares go find the dragon beads by himself back then? The small world is not that big, right? Lin Mohan was slightly shocked. Yes, the small world is only so big, and Antares could travel all over it in just a few seconds. Why didn't he go find the Dragon Balls himself? Why did he fake it himself? Obviously there are many restrictions inside. Tianlong came here because of punishment and is also subject to restrictions. Lin Mohan made a promise. Don't worry, the Congress will do its best to find the dragon beads outside the territory. Tianlong chuckled. Here comes the boy. I hope we can have a happy cooperation as before. The origin crystal flew into Lin Mohan's hands. This origin crystal had extremely strong origin power and was much more powerful than the world crystal. The previous 10 world crystals put together are not as good. Only the origin crystal on the world sea monster fish can rival it. If we take the rules world of the Supreme Realm as an example, it may be that only some peak Supreme Rule worlds can contain such a strong source of power. It should be enough for promotion in the Bone Hell. Lin Mohan's heart moved and he integrated the original crystal into the Bone Hell. The skeleton hell suddenly roared and shook violently, and the flames in the Hellfire River soared into the sky, connecting with the 10 scorching sun fireballs in the sky. The blazing fireball quickly grew in size, and the river of hellfire also became more intense. The hell that had already defeated 1% of the army changed again. Tianlong's cry sounded in my ears, change the direction, don't touch me. The bone hell continues to grow larger and stronger, and its coverage becomes wider and wider. Lin Mohan could feel that the hell of bones was transforming. This was another qualitative change. In the skeleton hell, the gate of hell reappeared, and the door crack opened a little wider again, and infinite power rushed out and poured into the skeleton hell. Tianlong's eyes shrank sharply. Gate of hell, how is this possible? Lin Mohan heard this and immediately asked, Senior, have you seen the Gate of Hell? Tianlong shook his head. I've seen it in the clan records. He had not seen it with his own eyes, but had only seen the Gate of Hell in recorded materials. From the information alone, you can recognize it at a glance as the Gate of Hell, which shows how special the Gate of Hell is. Lin Mohan continued to ask, is the Gate of Hell special? Tianlong's big eyes rolled as he looked at Lin Mohan. That's top secret information within my clan, and I only took a look at it dash. Well, the implication is that it cannot be said. Lin Mohan didn't want to ask further questions. Tianlong sometimes let slip things, but they were all insignificant things. He won't let slip what's really important. But just from his reaction, it can be seen that the Gate of Hell is special. The two sides fell into silence again, but Tianlong always stared at the Hell of Bones, unblinking, and his eyes were very solemn. Lin Mohan was paying attention to Tianlong's reaction. Although he didn't say anything, a lot of information could be seen from his reaction. His expression is so solemn. Obviously my technique is unusual. The unusual thing is probably at the Gate of Hell. The gate to hell is not from the big world, but from outside the big world, that is, the boundary sea. Lin Mohan's heart was like a mirror, and he suddenly understood many things. After a while, the gate of hell disappeared, the skeleton hell absorbed enough power, and new changes began to occur inside. The river of hellfire flows down, and the number of evil spirits in hell begins to increase rapidly. The flowers of the other shore bloomed more dazzlingly, and on the 10th day of the sky, the fire of hell became more and more fierce. No matter from which angle you look at it, the bone hell is extremely perfect. If the hell of bones is regarded as one party's rules, the world, this rule world, is also ridiculously strong. At least it is a perfect rule world. Tianlong looked at Lin Moyu with complicated eyes. Finally, he sighed and told Lin Moyu something. Tianlong's voice was low. Legend has it that somewhere there is a terrible world called hell, and everyone will go there after death. It is a forbidden area for living things. No living creature can enter there. Some people say that it is the origin of everything and the final destination of all living things. There is the yellow spring that connects ancient and modern times. There are the 9 netherworlds that govern life and death. There are the alluring flowers of the past life, and there are purgatory in the 10 directions. Every time Tianlong said something, Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat. What he said about his own hell of bones was really very similar. Combined with the description of his technique, could it be that the real hell that his technique is connected to is the one Tianlong said? But he was also surprised. Didn't Tianlong say he couldn't tell himself? Why are you taking the initiative to say it now? Tianlong continued, what I'm talking about is not information from my clan, but well-known legends. If you are lucky enough to be there in the future, you can find out by just asking anyone. This spell of yours is indeed very special. It actually summoned the gate of hell. I can feel that this spell has infinite possibilities. It depends on you how far you can go. Lin Moyu seemed to have seen a broader and grander world, and couldn't help but ask, what is it like there? Tianlong chuckled, don't try to trick me. If you want to know, just go and see for yourself. You already have a ticket. As long as you reach the Supreme, you will be qualified to go there. But don't think too much, you are just qualified. Tianlong suddenly changed his words. The world is about to end, and there is not much time left for you. But you have the Dragon Soul Crystal in your body, and you will not die when the world ends. Don't think that the role of the Dragon Soul Crystal is just to help you refine your soul power and become the most precious treasure of our clan. The role of the Dragon Soul Crystal is more than that. You still have a choice, but those who don't have Dragon Soul Crystals can only count them as unlucky. Tianlong seemed to be gloating about his misfortune, but Lin Moyu was very silent and serious at this time. Lin Moyu looked extremely serious. Thank you, Senior, for your guidance. I feel that the world will not be finished. I will build a new divine road to restore the world. And I will also become the supreme, even deity, of the world. Tianlong laughed loudly. It's a good thing to have ambition. I hope you can do it. If you really become a god one day, remember to help me find all the dragon beads. Lin Moyu smiled and said, definitely. Whoever becomes the heavenly lord, I will also help the senior find the dragon balls. Tianlong laughed even louder. Obviously he was in a good mood. The skeleton hell has finally completed its promotion. Its diameter has reached 2 light years, and its range has expanded several times. The evil spirits in hell have collectively reached the holy realm, numbering hundreds of billions. What is the concept of 100 billion saints? Even if the Supreme Lin Moyu looked extremely serious, thank you for your guidance, Senior. I feel that the world will not be finished. I will build a new divine road to restore the world. And he will become the supreme being in the world, even the deity. Tianlong laughed loudly. It's a good thing to have ambition. I hope you can do it. If you really become a god one day, remember to help me find all the dragon beads. Lin Moyu smiled and said, definitely. Whoever becomes the heavenly lord, I will also help the senior find the dragon balls. Tianlong laughed even louder. Obviously he was in a good mood. The skeleton hell has finally completed its promotion. Its diameter has reached 2 light years, and its range has expanded several times. The evil spirits in hell have collectively reached the holy realm, numbering hundreds of billions. What is the concept of hundreds of billions of saints? Even if the Supreme Lord sees it, his scalp will go numb. Even in ancient times, the human race could not produce hundreds of billions of saints at its peak. In today's era, the number of saints is only in single digits, but Lin Mohan has hundreds of millions in his hands. Who can believe this gap? Another trump card. Lin Mohan thought in his mind, when the Dojia comes, no matter how many people are sent, under the Supreme Being, they are only worthy of becoming the nourishment of the Bone Hill. Lin Mohan said goodbye to Tianlong and headed outside the territory. He was going to the shattered ruins to see if he could find the remains of Julie Tianzuan. Even if we can't get the remains of Tianzuan, we still hope to find the body of a peak supreme person. In the battle between the two worlds, the decisive factor in the end is the top powerhouse. Indescribable battles broke out there, and countless strong men of the human race shed blood there. Countless strong men also died there in the Black Blood world. This battlefield no longer has a name. In the rare records, it is only known that that battlefield was led by Julie Tianzuan. At that time, the astrological domain of the human race was very large. What is outside the domain today is what was once within the domain. The breaking point of that war was actually on the edge of the human star field. During the war, the human star field suffered huge losses. At that time, all the strong human beings refused to retreat and firmly kept the army of the Black Blood world at bay. If it hadn't been for the betrayal of various races later, the army of the Black Blood realm would never have even thought of breaking in. The space was distorted, and Lin Mohan appeared in the void. It's not dark here, there is a lot of starlight radiation. If you look carefully, these starlights all come from broken stars. After the star was shattered, the fragments continued to burn and were not extinguished for millions of years. Under the light, many traces of previous battles can be seen. Lin Mohan could even smell the smell of blood, and the sounds of soldiers shouting to kill the enemy could still be heard in his ears. The souls and wills here will last forever, and millions of years will never erase them all. You can imagine how fierce the fighting was here back then. Lin Mohan walked through the battlefield step by step, heading towards the shattered ruins. The shattered ruins are not big, about the same size as an ordinary galaxy, with a diameter of only tens of billions of kilometers. But it is very dangerous. A human saint once died here. The human saint did not enter the ruins. He was just brushed by the ruins a million kilometers away. His body and soul were shattered on the spot and turned into business powder. The ruins got their name from this.